Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee, and this is Playing in Traffic. We do this car show every Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. So tell all your friends and people, and please like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook. We are live on both. So tonight we are going to have people chat, come in and tell us what they're driving this summer, if they build a new car or motorcycle or new boat, something fresh. So let us know what's going on with that. We got Ray popping in.
Pop.
Hey, Ray. What's
Hey,
happening?
Lewis. How are you?
Yeah, great.
I almost missed the train, man. I just saw that you were reaching out to me a couple times today. I have been so freaking busy. I didn't even have time to sneeze.
Yeah, me too, man. I was working on, or I sent you pictures. I was working on my manifold.
I see that. Yeah, beautiful.
When I grow up, I'm gonna make stuff.
What is the main pipe that you used? What is that? Is that just a? Where'd you get that?
That is a 3-inch. I don't know what thickness. Probably a 1/8 inch thick.
It looks like it's maybe 16 gauge, or maybe even a little thicker.
Yeah, it's probably 16 gauge.
Okay, and the other pieces were from like header tubes, I guess, like a header tube kit.
Yeah. What I did is I bought bent exhaust pipe. It's
Right.
1 5/8.
1 5/8 mandrel bent. Yes.
Yep, and that's the size that goes into my boots on my motor.
Right.
So now I built the manifold. So now I have to. I think I'm gonna run over to Tyler's if he let me use his plasma cutter and cut out the top plate for the carburetor to sit on.
Before I got to the money shot with the carburetor, it looked like you were building a rocket stand. It's like a rocket or something. So let me ask you this: the spacing of the smaller tubes into your intake, that's pretty critical. I mean, you have boots that go on there that give you a little leeway, but those things are typically
pretty
not a lot of leeway.
No. So what I did is I took the old carburetors, turned them upside down.
Okay.
And I put lipstick on the rim. I put it on a board, and that gave me my exact circles, the down.
Gotcha. That's smart.
Then I cut those out. And then I put my tubes through that, and I centered the main pipe in the middle of those. And then I marked where to drill on those.
Right.
On the main pipe, drilled those out, which was a beast.
Yeah.
My drill press has a small table, so I can't bolt anything down or tie anything down. So I had brackets and wood, and I had all kind of stuff to try to tie it, hold it down so I could drill it. So finally got the holes drilled.
Well, I tell you, man, that's the hot rodders, backyard builders mentality. Like, if we don't have the right stuff to make something work, we make the stuff to make it work.
Yeah.
So I give you credit for that. That's excellent.
Yeah, so my welding is really terrible. So I just tacked it, and I'm gonna give it to my buddy Dave, and he's gonna braze it for me.
Okay, or he could TIG weld. That's steel, right? The pipe is steel. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna TIG weld.
Right.
Make it pretty.
Beautiful. Now, what color are you gonna paint that manifold when it's all done?
Probably black.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, probably black.
Yeah.
You can't see too much of it. It'd be tucked under once I put my bearings and stuff back on.
I mean, you could do the sneaky thing and like paint it red. So like now your eye will catch a glimpse of it, and you'd be like, "Hey, what's that?"
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing all day, is playing with that. I appreciate it. You got PayPal or?
No, I was going to tell you about that. My wife uses Zelle, and my daughter uses Venmo.
Okay, I got Venmo.
Okay, I can send you her info on Venmo. I'll send you it's an email address and her phone number.
Okay.
I guess she said the email address is fine, but sometimes they ask for the phone number as a double back. So I'll send you both.
All right, cool.
And
so now I have to get my bike has a push-pull throttle cables.
Right.
And when I was taking the carburetor off, I figured, I'm not going to use these anymore, so I cut them.
Oh.
They were kind of old and bad anyway. So
Okay.
I'm gonna buy some new ones and rig that whole setup.
Yeah, well, they're available. That's the thing. That's a standard replacement part, so that will be available. But rigging that to the linkage to make, for the carburetor is going to be maybe a little bit of a trick.
Yeah, I'm at the. I seen a couple guys made brackets, so I gotta go back in and look at some pictures and see how they made the brackets.
See, that's the good thing with something like this. You have support of all the guys who did it before you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you'll see who did it kind of half-assed and who did a decent job, and then you follow the good guys.
Yeah. I had to say, I think my manifold is going to look better than a lot of the other guys.
Okay.
Because they use like they use the same size pipes coming up, but they use a small pipe in the middle.
All right.
Where the airflow don't seem like it's going to flow good.
You see, now you're getting into the whole basis of manifold tuning. And like on a car, we talk about open plenum, closed plenum. There's floors. Some have a floor. Some don't have. Some have half a floor. And it all has to do with swirl and velocity and the way that air comes through. Because they found that having air come through too fast isn't good. Like even fuel, when guys will port heads, they would make the mistake of making the ports mirror smooth. And you need a little bit of an abrasion in there to break up the gas on a carbureted engine to kind of like atomize it, even though it doesn't really atomize. It just breaks into smaller droplets, which I guess is like atomization. So, yeah, you'll find out. I mean, the way to find out is you put it together and you ride it and you see what happens. And if it's, not giving you what you want, you may have to do a redesign.
Yeah.
Because I know they even put in, like with exhaust on the other side, on the output side, they had big collectors. And then a guy came up with, back in the 70s, it was like a cross that went in the collector to make it kind of like 4 chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And it would actually speed up the exit of the exhaust. So he found that was a better way to scavenge the cylinders. So, it was all just trial and error.
That's the next thing I'm doing, because I have a governor under there. And a lot of guys take that off and put a cross pipes and take that off completely.
Oh, get rid of the governor. Yeah, you don't want any governors in there.
Yeah, I seen a guy, he had a VMAX, and he took his off, and it sounded like a V8 coming down the street.
Nice.
Oh man, it was rumbling. It sounded really nice.
And again, you got to see if it may sound better, but did it perform better? Because you could get a better sound and theoretically have your power fall off, and then make the thing quieter, and then your power goes up. So you got to try all the variables, I guess.
If it goes down, I'll just have to put a turbo on it.
There you go.
Yeah. So let's get the fellas in and see what they're talking about tonight.
Bring them on.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Michael
What's up, fellas?
Brian is my go-to co-host.
I'm ready, Ray. Anytime, man. I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
Let me tell you, people love hearing you on the radio. I gotta say, people love hearing you.
I was gonna call in Sunday too.
Yeah, you would have had fun.
Hey, Lewis, when you get your pipes coming down and you're going into a rubber boot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to. I used to have one, and I loaned it out, and I never got it back. But Eastwood makes a ridge so that you can put on the inside of the pipe, so that will hold the boot on when you tighten the clamps up, so it won't, if it backfires, or it won't slide off.
Oh yeah.
And you want to do that because, like I said, if you have any kind of problems, you don't want a vacuum leak. It'll be a good seal and a place where the clamp will go on.
Yeah.
Or if you're having somebody tigging it, you can get a wire and go around the base of it and have it tigged on. That way you have a good clamping force, because back in the day on the 911s, they had an aftermarket thing for the manifolds, and it went into a rubber tube, but they didn't have that. And if the car backfired, it popped the intake off. and
You
you
know,
can do it all.
it's funny. The Yamaha 650s were Lewis. Do you have two windows open somehow?
No, while you hear the
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
Mike.
echoing, Ray.
So were you.
Oh,
Echo.
No.
But I don't think it's on our end. That's the thing.
oh,
No,
Yeah,
I don't think it's on our end. Because I know I haven't changed anything on the setup. The Yamaha 650s did that. It was a 2-cylinder vertical twin where the pistons actually went up and down together. It was like a thumper. But if you backfire those motors, boom, it would blow the carburetors right off them all the time. You know, Brian, what I've done with pipe is taken a pipe expander for exhaust pipe and just put it in shallow and bumped it and made that little ridge.
yeah. Well, that's the only problem with that is trying to get the hose up over top of it.
Right. Yeah.
And like I said, the Eastwood thing, it was pretty cheap. It wasn't that expensive, and it just went inside, and you had a little winder in it, and it put that ridge on it.
So what range of tubing was that for?
It was from like quarter,
Wow.
from quarter to 7/8 or something.
All right.
I look that up. So
And then they had another piece that you could do, like if you were doing like intake. It was, I used it on when I did K&N filter setups. And you know, even the big 3-inch, you could do the inside, like if you cut and had to move it or whatever. It just kept it clean.
This is like AM radio in the 70s. We all got that reverb going.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you guys sound good to me.
Ah, not to
It's
us.
got to be you, Lewis.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not us.
I know when it was just you and Ray was echoing, you weren't.
Okay. Yeah, then Brian came in. He's echoing, and
Yeah, but we're not echoing now.
Not anymore
now you're
because
not.
Lewis just muted himself.
That's it.
bingo.
It's all echoey.
So, Brian, what would you call it? Like a pipe ridge maker?
I just went through in the Eastwood catalog and I found it, and I can't remember what it was actually
I'm gonna look
called.
that up because I like to do that on fuel lines and just put a little bit of a ridge on there, so like you said, so the hose stays.
I know, because I'm like I went digging for it because of the Audi for the fuel line.
Oh yeah, by the way, just because we're
Yep,
talking about
look at that.
every time he mentions Audi, I got to wear this.
And I dug around. I can't find it, and I remembered I loaned it to a person, and now it's gone.
All right.
Is it still echo?
No, it
No.
doesn't.
Nope.
Not
Oh
yet.
yeah, I turned my speaker around.
There
It
you
was
go.
me.
Causing trouble, Lewis.
Right. So yeah, I might do that. Put that wire on there and braze it like you said.
Yeah, because I've done it. Like I said, I've used like a coat hanger, and I've just shaped it the form of the wire, and I welded it on. That way, when you put the clamp, it has a place to sit, and it has nowhere to go.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's good thinking.
And because, like I said, it just makes it.
Because on the carburetor, it has a little ridge in it.
Right.
No, on the old ones.
Yeah. Yeah, so that way, and you just want to do it, you just want to go up like on this, how it's, it's just a little bit up off, so that when you put the hose on there, the clamp will sit right here, not on the end, so you don't crush the end of the tube.
Right. Yep, sounds good.
So it'll save you a headache, because once you get it all back together, you don't want it to pop or have a vacuum leak. You got to tear it all back apart.
You know what really stinks is when your turbo on your truck blows.
Yeah.
Man, it's like somebody shooting at you. I'm like, oh my God, the first time it happened.
Yeah, well, the funny part on my F350 back in the one of the intake for the turbo pipe had cracked, and I bought one of these aftermarket ones, kits. I don't know who it was from, Blackjack, or we're gonna make you go faster or something, some kit company. And it didn't have that ridge on there. That's why I bought it originally, because I kept every time I wound the 6.0 up, I'd blow the line off, and I finally found that and put a ridge on the pipe to keep it from blowing off.
Yeah,
the guy they sold me, like, I called them up and they said, "Oh yeah, we'll send you another clamp kit." So I had all these stupid ass clamps hanging on it. Looked like a very bad braces job on a kid. I was like,
Ray, if you used wood, it's almost like a bead roll.
Bead roll, yeah.
That makes sense. I can see that. You have a part number?
Hey Keith, move closer to your camera. I think when you lean back, you freeze.
He's frozen now. Good to see Justin back in the 70s Ford armchair.
Yeah.
That's
We're
it,
right back
man.
in the Cadillac seat.
Dude, that's a nice looking seat.
Nice.
Good
Yeah,
shape.
buddy. 70. I know that's a mid 70s Cadillac.
Yeah. Oh, it's Caddy. Okay. I would have thought it was Ford.
That's pretty sexy. I might have to steal that pattern there and put it in the old Audi. It'd be
Oh heck yeah.
that's something the Germans used to do back in the day.
That would work.
You know, that pattern's coming back. I've seen it in some hot rods.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I think I have a
That,
sport coat with that pattern on it. From like,
Nice Sunday jacket.
hey, I just got me a new summer hat, a nice new summer fedora, so I'm
Looks like
getting
this.
ready.
Not the
brown,
green
too.
one, right? Not the green one.
No, it's a brown one with a blue band. It's kind of
Oh,
happening.
that's sexy, man.
Yeah.
You're bringing sexy back.
Oh, never left.
That's right. Tell him.
That's funny.
So Brian, you gonna
There you go,
have
Papa.
the car done for the summer?
I hope. I don't have anything planned this weekend, boys, and I'm
Nice.
Oh, you just
You're in trouble now.
Yeah, I just jinxed myself for sure.
Yeah.
The phone, damn it, this thing. Oh, that's Ray. Whew. Man, I thought somebody heard me and was want to have me do something.
Oh. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ray, that's good.
See? What happened? I'll go up and get it in a minute. So yeah, so we talked extensively about Brian's Audi project, and I tell you, I couldn't be more excited about that car. You know, I think it's great. It's just you got to find a way. You got to find the Audi spec that just resizes the car now, so like it unshrinks it, so it's a usable size for you.
Yeah, I know. I got to go on a Slim Fast diet because it's going to be tight. But it's funny. Before the show, we had a pretty big show, a car show, Mel and Mike's Deli, and there was over 500 cars. I mean, it was insane, and there was even more stuff outside the lot. I mean, they couldn't even get cars in the lot. There was so much outside still, and there was another district manager, another Mako district manager there, and he's like, "Hey, I heard that you're getting your Audi back on the road," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting it back on the road. I've been working on it." And he's like, "Oh, what are you going to do? An LS swap or something?" You know? And I was like, "No." I said, "Dude, I'm keeping it, man. You don't see any 5-cylinders." And I said, "I already have it's already got a Audi Motorsport cam, and I did work back. I mean, I had stuff done back then, and had ported the heads a little bit and so forth, but going along the line, he's like, "Man, it'd be really cool getting it on the road." And then I said, "Yeah, you just don't see them." And he goes, "You're right." And I said, "There's over 500 cars here, and there's no 4,000." And I tell you what, I was really surprised in seeing was first generation Rabbits.
Oh wow, yeah.
I mean, there were 4 or 5 of them hopping through the parking lot, and I was really surprised.
I think the early Rabbits, like insert any early Japanese car, I think they look really good now when they're dropped. You drop them low, put a good set of wheels on them. They take on a whole nother, persona.
I really wish. I mean, we had a first generation Rabbit diesel. And I wish I still had that car. That was a fun car to drive. And it was one of the last ones to make it from Germany to here before they started building them in Pennsylvania. It was, my dad had ordered a white one and it came springtime yellow. And the dealer goes, well, this is the last one. And do you want it? Or we got another guy in line for it. And my dad went ahead and took it. And I wish I'd kept that. I drove that car for years, and I wish I'd kept it because you just don't see them. But they were kind of like Fox body Mustangs. They were everywhere. And now you can't find one. You know,
even like the 5000s. I mean, they were all over the place.
Yeah, very true.
35,000.
Yeah.
So
my Ring camera went off, and I seen a cat. It looks just like my cat, but it was a imposter. I thought my cat was outside. That's why I took off.
You gotta watch
well,
out.
that would really mess you up, Lewis. If you would have let that cat in, and you would have seen two cats walking around. You're like, "What the f is going on?"
Yeah.
You got to watch out for those strange-looking cats that got black bags and masks. Those are the cats you don't want to let in. You meet them with your 4/5. Say, "Hey, boys, meet my friends Smith and Wesson."
Yeah.
Yeah, Rabbit was what I first started learning how to do things with German cars.
Yeah.
Because I met my wife. She had a Jetta. What the hell do you call it? Not Generation 1? Mark 1.
Yeah.
And then we picked up a little Volkswagen Rabbit for next to nothing. I got out there in the middle of Montana winter in her garage and changed the clutch out in it. Yuck.
Yeah.
That's why I got out of Montana.
That was the car I learned to drive on. And it was so funny when I went to go get my driver's license on it and going through we had a little, road course that you had to drive. And the guy, we were first in line, first thing in the morning, and the instructor had just put in new cones, and they had wood sticks, in the cones. And we had to come on up and had to do a 3-point turnaround and a parallel park type thing. And I came up to parallel park, and it was funny because my dad took a pencil and scratched on the inside on the door sill where to line up the poles so that, it was my little cheat sheet, Yeah. And the instructor had put his arm up so I couldn't see the thing. So I'm like, also I started getting nervous and I'm like trying to look under his arm to look at the line to line up the pole and everything. And my foot slipped off the clutch. And the car bounced all the way through all the cones and all the sticks, broke them all up.
Nice.
And that guy was so pissed off. And I finally got the car to stop jumping around, and I was nervous and lost my mind. And so he's like, all right, well, and he's just marking away on the sheet, I failed. And he's like, okay, go on over here, park by the door. So of course I whipped the car around. And at the end of the course, it was this was the catcher because it had a stop sign at the very end of the course. And they would always say, go on up to the door. Well, everybody would drive right through the stop sign because they thought the test was over. But the test when you're driving is never over.
Right.
So, of course, I drive right through. And I said, why are you still marking on that paper? He goes, you ran a stop sign. And I was like, well, you told me it was over. He goes, when you're driving, it's never over. You got to obey all laws. I was so mad. Of course, my dad was like standing there, had wiped out, and this guy's out there picking all his little sticks up. And so they told me I had to come back in a week. So I went back the next day, and the guy saw me, and he sent this other lady over, this older lady, and she comes in, gets in the car, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she goes, "Don't think those blue eyes are going to work on me, Sonny." And I was like, whoa. I was like, damn. Man, it's going to be tough. But We got it the second time.
That's funny.
That little rabbit was hopping through that parking lot, just wiping out all those cones and sticks.
That's
I
funny.
flunked my first driving test because my dad had always told me pull up into the middle of an intersection where you can barely see the light. And as soon as the light changed, make your left or right hand turn.
Yeah.
I did. And the officer said, you ran a red light. Yeah, but I had to clear the road. Doesn't matter. Okay. I passed the second one, same test instructor. All my friends have been talking about how easy it was because the old driving test instructor was, you only did about 5 minutes. I did a full 30 minutes.
Wow.
You know, you can get really terrified in 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Never want to do that again.
I couldn't imagine today because, like I said, when the girls went, all three of them, it was like, okay, we'll go up and you know, they used to leave the course open on the weekends so that you could practice. And they looked at me like I had lost my mind. They said, "What do you mean a course? They put you out on the road. You know, you got to go drive around, you know?" And I was like, "You got to be kidding me." I would have been terrified back then.
That's what we did. We had to drive on the roads.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we had this little course.
No.
Ours, I don't think we ever got out of town.
Right.
It was like 5 minutes and done.
Did anybody else fail their first test?
No.
I did.
I failed the written test once.
That makes three of us.
My buddy Phil was a little older than me, so I already had my own car. I was driving for like a year without a license. So, you know, he was going to take me, and he was a real good driver and all. And okay, no problem. So last minute, he couldn't make it. So I forget, I don't know why, but so like, damn, I need somebody with a license. So my other friend, Gerard, he didn't have his license yet, but he had his family, for some reason, they took in foster kids all the time. And he had like 4 sisters that were foster sisters. So, and we knew them, you know, we hung out together. They were all a little older. So the one sister, she said, yeah, I'll take you. I said, great, you know, be up at my house at like, you know, whatever time, 2:00, and we'll go. Well, she shows up with like 3 of her friends. I'm like, well, what is it? She goes, well, we all got to go together because after that, we're going to the mall of it. So I roll up on the wrong side of the street with a car full of girls. The inspector wasn't impressed. You know, your car's supposed to be on the other side of the street behind that line. You got 30 seconds. And you know, I don't want to see any hijinks. Like, all right. So get it over there. And we do the test. And the problem was I was in my 60, it was a 66 Caprice that burned oil like crazy. And it would occasionally stall. So, you know, it stalled a few times. It burned oil. It did this, it did that, you know, and he failed me. And he said it was because of poor vehicle control.
Oh,
I think because it kept stalling. I'm like, yeah. So the second time I make another appointment right away. And it was for like 2 weeks later at a different location. And I had a different car by then already. So I brought my station wagon and passed the second test. So, but yeah, don't show up with a car full of girls.
I've always hated parallel parking. That is my bugaboo.
I just did it 3 times today. You know, it's when you do it enough, I always tell my kids, do it enough, it's no big deal. You know,
I freak a lot of people out when I do that in a tool truck.
Yeah.
I once did it in a train.
Wow.
Now, my daughter parallel parked her semi one time.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, you're no kid of mine.
Cool. Of course, my wife and daughters hate it. So I remember the first time I pulled up on in a shopping area, and it was a one-way, and I had to park on the left side of the street. So I had a parallel park on the left side. I said, hey, this is different even for me. This is weird. I thought it was easier, though, at the end of the day. Yeah.
You know,
that's what I liked about that rabbit, because it was so small.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could turn around in a parking space with that damn thing, you know?
Right.
You know that guy that's the greatest guy in the world or whatever it is?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I posted something a couple weeks ago, and it says that I once parallel parked a train.
There you go.
At least we're having some dry weather here now because I can finally go outside and work on one of the cars because it's been raining here where we are in California for quite some time.
You guys needed the rain, didn't you?
Oh boy, did we.
And there was snow south of you again. There was even more of that.
There is snow been going on up on the freeway I-5 and also coastal areas. It's just been, I'm staying home, fellas.
I don't blame you.
No, don't want to go anywhere. 'Cause, what was it, night before last, I think we had an inch of rain.
Wow.
And I like the water, but I don't like driving in rain.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't know how to drive. It's all the other idiots on the road.
Right. Right.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
Well, I might be able to sleep tonight because the Volvo is now out of my hair. It just took its trip down to North Carolina just tonight. My daughter and her fiance took it, and I'm like, kind of Jones it. I told them, I said, it's kind of weird. It's like, I guess it's like when your kid goes off to college and you don't know, what shape they're going to be in. Being the guy that services all the cars, I get to constantly look at her car. And now this is a new one to us, even though, it's a used car. And I haven't really got an intimate relationship with it yet. I'm just learning how to speak the IKEA version of Swedish. And and now I got to let it go, and I'm not going to be able to see it or watch it. Or it's kind of a weird feeling. Not many people understand it, but kind of.
No, I understand.
Kind of weird, but off it goes. So hopefully we'll be okay.
So they came back up to get it.
Yeah, they flew up last night, and then they spent today going around. Of course. She had to get her hair done at her favorite place, and he got his hair cut at his barbershop. They had to, do a couple things in town because they've only been down there a month. And now, I had it in the glass shop. I dropped it off yesterday to have the windshield put in it. So literally, it was like 1:30, 2 o'clock this afternoon. I went and picked it up from the glass shop. I was like,
because I saw that she had the contacts for a dealer tag.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I figured, I said, Ray, I said, if Ray swings back down this weekend, I'll have to hang out on 95 with my thumb out and flag you down.
Well, that was what I thought originally I was going to do. I thought originally, I would be taking it down, which would have been a lot. I mean, I just got back, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But, they decided to come up. So she had a plane ticket that she had that didn't use. So she had a free ride on the plane. So,
I was getting ready to say, we'll do it like the old Harriet Tubman Trail. There's places all the way, people in between will just, cater you on up the pipeline there, sneak you in.
Right. And I tell you, she surprised the hell out of me getting this dealer plate. Because I said to her, hey, listen, you got more juice than me. I can get a transporter plate like almost any time I need it, but I don't have access to a dealer plate. So she did. And I went to the glass shop, and the guy's looking, and he said, I told him the story. He goes, that car's got a dealer plate on it? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, you want to take it off? I'm like, no, it's all with nylocks. I said, it's, you got to really work to get those off. He goes, all right, I'm going to put it in the shop overnight. It'll be inside. I said, okay, so it's fine. So we get there today to pick it up. It's out in his front lot, and the plate is off. So I go in and I ask him, he says, yeah, he goes, I had it inside all night. No problem. He goes, when I put it outside, he goes, I just didn't trust it. He goes, I had to take that plate off. It's in the glove box.
Yeah.
And the guy who owns the plate says he's got 5 of them. And he says, yeah, he usually loses about 3 a month.
Really?
Yeah. People steal them.
Wow. See, we never had that here.
Yeah, dude, it's bad here, man. You do not leave a dealer plate laying around.
So I
Or
even
a transport plate.
I told them on the way down, I said, listen, I either got to change these nuts so you can get them off. And what I ended up doing was giving them a 1/4-inch drive ratchet and 11mm socket. And I said, when you get to the hotel, take the plate off. I said, now you're leaving the car in the hotel parking lot with no plates on it.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
And it's got no stickers. I said, so, I don't know if that's better or worse, but I don't know.
I'm running transport plates for my.
That's what I usually get from the shop. I get the transport. Well, again, you don't want to lose that.
Wow, I never even thought of that. That's nothing. Nobody does that around here. They
will
will jack your whole car though.
Yeah.
Put you on the street.
Yeah, that's big problem. We used to. That was man. Even when I was back at the dealership, that was just you did not leave a plate. You lost a plate, you were done.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not looked favorably upon, and I know here even the DOT, they want to know how did that plate get lost. You know, it's tough getting another one. They give you a hard time. You know, it's like losing a handgun. Like, hey, you know, you're not supposed to be letting that out of your sight.
See, I've lost plates and I just ordered a new one.
Yeah.
And they don't here. They don't like that.
Yeah, I guess Ohio is a little more liberal.
Yeah,
that's concerned.
Yeah, we had a plate stolen while we were out of state, and my wife called up DOT here.
Yeah,
DMV, Driver's License Bureau, and boy, they asked her where'd they go. We were in the town. What'd they steal? Just the rear plate. Did you leave it loose? No. And they wouldn't send it out of state. They had to send it to my daughter, who had to mail it to us.
Right.
Yeah.
I just found out that the New York State dealer plates require a $3 million bond.
Holy shit!
Wow.
So that's why they're at a premium. Yeah, and that's why people want to grab them, because you can go anywhere, anytime, any place. You know.
Yeah, it was crazy. They used to. We know the little stickers. You know, if you have 3 or 4 of them laid all there, all you gotta do is take a razor blade and hit up underneath of it, and you know, pop the
right.
You know the sticker.
Yeah.
And if you get 3 or 4 of them, it's raised up, and you just take a razor blade and you just slide right up, it'll pop the whole thing right off. You know.
Right.
And now they make them with the little hole punches. So as soon as you try to peel it, it rips it, so you can't steal them.
Right.
But I was at this was in my my brother's he had a Volkswagen Fox wagon that he was in New York at the time, and he got if he would forget to move the car every other day, the street sweepers, it'd get towed. And of course it wasn't towed in the city, it was towed like someplace up, you know, up
in the Bronx.
Up in New York, no, out like upper state New York. I mean, it was a day event to go get your car because it's towed out, because they didn't have place. You know, I mean, I guess it was towing. You know, they didn't have enough place to towing lot or whatever. Of course, it was $1 million. So after a few times of this, and the time that he went out to move it, and there was a homeless guy sleeping in it, he decided that was it. He was going to move it. I'll fill you in on that one. That was a good story. My poor brother, they both screamed like little girls, but that was a different story. But so I was driving that car, you know, and I worked in this one part of the neighborhood that was pretty shady. It was a rough area, and somebody stole the sticker off the car, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'd come home, showered, and I had one of those days. It was a kind of a crappy day. And I stopped by, we all, at the time, we used to have 612s, which was like a 7-Eleven, but it was called 612. And
how original.
Yeah, I know. And I bought a 6-pack, you know, of beer, you know.
O'clock.
And there was a cop sitting in the store, and so I walk out and jumped in the car, and I catch him out of the corner eye. He comes out and gets in his car, and so I'm driving down the road, and sure enough, he lights him up, and I was like, "That son of a bitch!"
He did a burnout,
huh?
He did a burnout.
No. I was just driving down the road. I was in the Fox, you know.
He's not getting it, Justin. It's like,
yeah.
No burnout, yeah. And So he walks up to the car, and I was like, I said, and of course I just jumped right into this guy's shit, you know. I was like, you couldn't even give me a damn minute to open a beer up. You're already pulling me over. You think I'm driving, blah, blah, blah. And this guy looks at me and goes, hey, easy, calm down, cowboy. He says, I'm just letting you know that you don't have any stickers on your tags. And I was like, what do you mean I don't have no sticker on a tag? He goes, look, dude, you don't have a sticker on your tag. And he goes, you live right down the road. Obviously, you're upset about something. Why don't you just take the car back home and, just get it off the road?
Right.
And here I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. I thought you were like, I hadn't even just opened the beer. He goes, well, I hope you're not opening the beer and drinking and drop. No.
Yeah.
So, but somebody had stolen the sticker off of it. Wow. So,
yeah, that's something.
Already jumping down that poor guy's throat. No wonder. Of course, that back then, that was a different story. Today, no wonder people get shot. Acting like an asshole.
Uh-huh. What happened to Keith? He bounced on us?
I think after he froze, he jumped off.
Yeah, I like the multiple stickers there.
Those were on the motorcycle. I got into a friend. He was talking about having a couple different. I said, yeah, you want to see stickers? I took that one pack off and there's I don't know. That's like every year. I think there was maybe 20 of them. And I had to start a new row. I like when they stick them all over the sticker. I mean, they don't want to cover up, the previous, because maybe it's not, the year's not over for the sticker. Yeah,
because they usually send them out about 3. When you pay or when you order, if you do it right, when they send you the notice, you have about 3 months before you're.
Yeah, you see, here in New York, we still have a separate registration sticker on the windshield and an inspection sticker. And down North Carolina, they just do the sticker on the plate for registration, but the inspection is done digitally. So when they run the plate, it comes back if the inspection was done or not.
We don't have an inspection here in Ohio.
Yeah. So I got to find out, because now this vehicle got revived after sitting for 1.5 years. And I'm pulling codes out of it like crazy. I had a fuel pressure, a regulator sensor code that was, first said pressure too low. Now I looked at codes today and it was a pressure too high. I was like, oh boy. So I said, listen, if the check engine light's on when you get home, I said, I don't know what kind of inspection you got to have done on this thing. I think it may be just safety. I said, up here, check engine light is an immediate failure because it means there's something wrong with emissions. I said, you're going to have to figure that out when you get down there. Again, I can't help you. I'm not going to be there. So you're going to have to figure that one out.
Well, you guys got a hard life. We don't have no inspection. We can roll with rust. We could have a hole all the way through the whole car.
Nah.
Yeah, we don't have a thing with the rust per se.
Like Pennsylvania.
No jagged edges.
We don't really have that. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have cars that are really, really rusty, so I don't know. I think that we're okay with that.
I know PA. I've bought a lot of cars from PA because they had too much rust on them, which wasn't a lot to me.
On Steve Magnante's YouTube channel, he's been the last couple cars he showed. There was a Monte Carlo, and what was the other one? A Caddy, and they had built around the outer wheel well with just plates of metal and pop rivet. And he goes, that's the law here in Massachusetts. You can't have exposed rust. Mm-hmm. So the guys will do this. They'll just put plates over it, and it'll usually, if the inspector's cool, it'll pass.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's something.
Yeah, we have a few of that, but like I said, we can have no jagged edges, and basically, so if it has a hole, it's a jagged edge, so you can't.
Right.
Oh man, you should see some stuff roll through here.
Yeah.
You can see the guy from his feet to his shoulders.
I like when you see these cars because they come back trying to pass and they'll use like duct tape and they'll just tape up the car. It's like paper mache,
right? And
spray paint it over top. Or the best ever is when they take that
Flex Seal.
Well, not the Flex Seal, but the foam, the spray foam.
Oh yeah.
And they spray it all in the rocker panel,
Right.
And it's funny, because like I said, they actually like I said, you can get it halfway decent because you spray it, expands, you cut it down, and whatever. But
it is a great product if it would last.
Well, the problem is that now you've sealed up the bottom, so now the water's like it's like 6 inches higher up in the fender.
You got to put drain holes in it.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, it's rusting up. This high, that high up off where it was.
Right.
You're not really.
I helped a friend of mine repairing some rust in his car, and it was from the dealer foam that they had sprayed up in the inner wheel well.
Ford's terrible. That's why the Ford beds rot out.
I just saw that on the Dodges. Some of the new Dodges, the same thing. Yeah,
I reached up in my fender on the pickup on the bed, and you can feel it's wet in there. It's all that foam.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Louis, you were talking about that. That's right, a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's terrible. That's why all those Ford beds rot out like that. Mine's same thing. It's just the most stupidest thing.
Yep.
That was like I had a cousin. I don't know if I told you guys the time I paper mache'd her quarter panels back together because she was going to try to sell the car, and I told her that
don't slam the door hard.
Well, it was like, look, you're going to get rid of this thing. It was a famous thing. It's like anybody that works on cars, and somebody comes in and says, I want it done cheap because I'm going to get rid of the car. And, of course, you do the work, and, of course, they drive the car for 6 more years. You know what I'm saying? And I said she was, like, trying to get rid of the car. And, of course, it's got this hole in the back quarter panel about yay big. And I said, I can fix this, but you got to get rid of the car.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, no problem. So I get the Sunday paper. And I get one of those paint trays, and I fill it up with fiberglass resin, and I take the Sunday paper and I roll it right on through the resin and slap it on the side of the car and shape it down, fill it in. It was powder puff blue. I painted it, and I said, there. She goes, oh, it looks great. I said, remember, get rid of the car. And then, of course, she drives it through the winter, and it's got this iceberg, snowberg, chunk of ice that sticks to the side of the car, and of course it falls off and rips the whole quarter off, and she like brings the snow mound and the piece of Sunday paper. Could you put it back on the car? I said, like, get out of here.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Right now, my pickup is one of my pickups is so rusty. If the passenger's sitting in the seat, you can see their legs from outside.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. But as my wife just said, it starts up every time you put the key in the ignition.
Isn't that the truth?
So I got to find a body for it because that engine runs too good.
Yeah.
That was like I had a guy come by, and this is when I was driving the Scout, and he goes, I got a 4-wheel drive for you. And I was like, you can have it. I got to get rid of it. It's been sitting out in front of my house. You got to get rid of it. I got to get rid of it. And I said, well, what is it? And it was like, what year, it was a 58 or 59 Blazer or whatever, the one that had the 2 headlights, and it had like the oval opening, like a 60 maybe. I don't know. But it was an early K25. It was a 3/4 ton V8 with a granny gear thing, and I don't know what year, but it had the 4 headlights, and over top the headlight was another light, like the turn signal light or whatever. It was a eyebrow type.
That sounds
hood.
Like a 60 Chevy.
A 60?
Early 60s, like 62, 63, 64.
Yeah,
it sounds like.
Yeah, and it was. So I told the guy, I said, does it run? And he's like, yeah, it runs great. And I'm like, okay. I said, all right, I'll take it. And so he comes up to the dealership, picks me up, And this is down in DC, you know, we're going all the way down, and I'm like, this thing does run, right? And he goes, yeah, it runs great. It runs great. I go up to this thing, and it's like finding Christine. One headlight's hanging, you know, hanging by the wires, and it's just rusted out to no end. And I open the door up, and there's a 2x4 running across the tunnel and the transmission because there's no floor in this thing, you know? And I'm like, I said, are you sure this thing runs? And I reached in and hit the key, and that thing fired right up. Boom! You know, of course, it's got like half open manifold cracked. You know, it's in rough shape, you know.
Rough.
And he goes, whatever you do, don't take off in granny gear, in first gear. And I said, why? He says, it'll pull the truck apart. I mean, it's, and I was like, okay, thanks. So, you know, I put the thing down in the second and I take off. I mean, I'm driving this thing down the road, no tags, out of DC, pitch dark, half the lights aren't even working. I got one bouncing around in the front.
Yes.
Drive down the road, and my dumb ass downshifts it into granny, and I put it in the jam it in the first. Boom! And man, I tell you one thing, that truck, all four tires, or you know, the tires start to bark, you know, because it's grabbing. And I was like, oh shit. And I pulled it back out. Well, I threw the drive shaft, and the drive shaft comes up through the truck and out. And I was like, holy crap, this is it. So I coast down the hill, right up into the back of this gas station, got out, threw the keys in there, and started walking home. Oh, it was terrible. God. But the
62.
funny part was 62. Yeah. The funny part was when I parked at the gas station, I was kind of looking around and I opened up the glove box, and there was a stack of tickets.
Oh,
About that thick, where, you know, because parking on the street with no tags, you know, that's why he had to get rid of it. You know, he wanted it disappeared, so he didn't get stuck with it. But the ironic or the funny part about the whole thing is 30 years later, that gas station is on my route.
oh, fuck.
Oh.
Great.
Yeah. So that was funny, but when I went on my route, on my survey route, I drove by and I was like, he goes, oh, we're coming to here. The place is called Gas King. And I was like, oh man, thank God they didn't have cameras back then, because they probably pissed off that somebody parked this beat up old truck sitting in the back of their lot. That drive shaft came up through what was left of the floor, and I was like, that's enough there. So it was a good walk.
That might have been a legend.
Huh?
I have.
It might have been a legend by after 30 years. Like, man, one time we came to work and it was a rusty old piece of crap Chevy pickup truck. Somebody just left the keys in there. Drive shaft was in the bed.
Yeah, the only reason I tell you, the icing on the cake with the truck was he had in the back, it had two 427s, and it had a whole bunch of intakes and manifolds. Yeah, just like that one right there, the gray one.
Nice.
That was it.
Worth some big bucks now.
Yeah, that was it.
From the sounds of the way it was rusting, it wouldn't have been anything there to be worth anything.
Nah. But it had two big blocks, had two 427s, it had a tunnel ram, had a whole bunch of other intakes, a pile of carburetors. And of course, I'm figuring, how weird would this be if seeing a white guy walking down the street with, you know, with two sets of head, you know, a set of heads in each hand. I figure I have to take something from there, you know. But that was a hell of a walk. That was a good that was a good workout. I got my steps in that night. So
Right after I graduated high school, the time I went in service, I wound up acquiring a 49 Ford Flathead 8.
wow.
A 62 Willits Overland 2-wheel drive, the Jeepster type thing. I see, what else did I have? They were all given to me, so I was going to work on them. And then the draft came along and said, no, you're not. So I left them at a friend's house, and he disposed of them. But I would really like to have had that Ford with the Flathead 8 in it. But
yeah. Papa Squirrel, you wouldn't have any of those Volkswagen vans laying around there, would you?
no Volkswagen vans.
One of my buddies looking for one. They're man, the prices went crazy on them things.
So is my wife. And we were almost given one 10 years ago or so, Tom, when he came out here. And he said it runs good, except you can't start it unless you spray starter fluid in the air cleaner. I didn't realize it was one of the first Volkswagen vans with fuel injection, old style fuel injection. Hell, I play with that stuff now. And I could have, it was a camper van.
Wow.
Damn, I wished I'd have taken it off of him. But
big buck.
Oh, yeah. At that time, we were in another bad spot in our life. She'd lost her job, and all we were living on was my retirement check.
That's when everything comes to you, when you're broke.
Of course. Now that we're doing okay, I'll never see another Volkswagen van for sale like that again.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
Fluffy, the comedian.
Yeah.
He has like 10 or 15 of them.
Well, I think Fluffy can afford it a little bit better than we can.
They're all meant to.
Yeah, I saw that thing he had when he was showing those. He had a lot.
Back in the day, they were worth nothing. Nobody wanted them.
Nobody wanted them. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Hell, nowadays there's hardly anything nobody wants.
Very true.
Everybody's looking for that payday.
Every time I start looking
car
for
that they can get right now, real cheap, in 5 years it'll be worth $1 million.
Yeah.
And with the prices of other stuff going through the roof, all the stuff that nobody wanted, now they're taking a second look at it like, hey, maybe that might be worth something soon.
My wife just said, except for our 71 Ford, as rusted out as that thing is, people will ask her, you want to sell it?
Just give it a little time.
Is it a four-wheel drive? Is it a four-wheel drive?
Oh, no, it's a two-wheel drive.
Oh.
But there are people out there if she wants to sell it. Because they listen to the engine and see that thing. And
I had a guy stopped Saturday. Was it last Saturday? I think it was last Saturday. He pulled in a driveway. It was kind of funny because I thought it was one of my customers. And as he's walking up closer, I realized, I was like, man, who's this joker? And gets up, knocks on the door, and he goes, excuse me, but I'm really sorry to bother you. But I noticed that white Ford hasn't moved in a while. He goes, are you interested in selling it? And I said, well, if the price is right. Yep. And he's like, so does it run? And I said, no. And he goes, He goes, well, how about you want to just sell the bed? Because the beds are the problem. Like you said, with that foam rotting out. Mine's great on the outside, but the floor of mine's gone. It's the funniest thing. The floor. I actually have plywood down on the bottom because I got these 5 or 6 places where I got these holes, about gopher holes in the bed of the truck. It's kind of weird how it rotted out, but I said, well, I said, no, I'm not. I said, no, the bed's not for sale. It's the whole truck. You could buy the whole truck. So, but I thought it was funny. But they like those older ones, though, Papa Squirrel, because they put a new drive line underneath of it. They do that.
Yeah.
Especially if you find a early 70s crew cab, anything Ford or Dodge, even Chevrolet, but those early crew cabs are so rare because they were basically a lot of them were state trucks. You know, they weren't really sold to the public. So when you come across early crew cab, those are big bucks.
You ain't gonna find one here in California where I'm at because I haven't ever seen one.
Yeah,
in private hands.
Yeah, they don't, like I said, the early ones were mostly state run trucks. So it's really hard to come. They didn't sell them to the public like they do today.
All right, time for me to bail.
Okay,
man. 10 o'clock on the dot, and you're rolling, Jim. Come on, man.
Hey, look, the wife's already like, hey, you coming to bed or what?
You better say yes, dear.
I did just now. You told me. Yes.
Okay.
Hey, look, you got the job.
All right, Jim. Well, take it easy. Be safe now, okay?
Yes, sir. All right, good night, guys.
So long, Jim.
Oh, it's crazy. Coach, what's up? Still looking awful dark around the edges, bud.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Looking good.
Did you get educated?
Yeah, I learned a few things.
Was that good or bad?
I was good. I think his name's Mike Smith. He was a former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. One of the things he shared, he asked everybody, he said, has everybody ever experienced a bad day? And of course, you know, everybody's like, yeah, okay. And he says, I've never had a bad day. He goes, I've had bad moments, but never a bad day. He said, when you have a bad moment, you have to make the choice whether you're going to make it a bad day and focus on those bad moments. Because really, when you've had a bad day, it's just moments. And he said, if you can turn around and focus on the good moments out of the day, then your day's not that bad. You've just had a few bad moments.
Yeah.
Sounds logical.
It was really good way of thinking. But a lot of it from the NFL coaches, they were talking about how to build a team, build a program. There was a lot of good information. And then we got to go in the meeting room for the university and watch where I ended up. The head coach was going over offense and some different play calling stuff and play stuff. And man, they have a nice meeting room. And they also, I stepped away to use the restroom, and they have a nice restroom. It's got a shower in there and everything, and blow dryers like the kind that they have in the hotels. I was like, man, maybe I need to take a shower. I think I'm going to hang out in here for a while. But and then they had a breakout session where you go with a positional coach. The hard thing for me is I'm a one-man show coaching at the middle school level. So I had to pick whichever one. Am I back? I think I froze. I had to pick whichever one that I felt fit me the best. And I mean, I guess each year I'll pick a different one, but I went with the wide receivers, and that was good in there.
I wonder why you're starting to break up like that.
He's still frozen.
Am I still frozen?
With me, it used to be our broadband card would get overloaded with all these people around us. Now that we're on cable, it's not so bad.
I'm on cable, but I'm on Wi-Fi on this computer. It might be the Wi-Fi. I also need to go through and see if I need to update my drivers.
You don't want to do that.
The
Expensive?
update.
No. Every time I update, I end up spending 2 days on tech support trying to get something straightened out.
Right.
They always, I think they do it for job security. We're so important that, instead of just fixing the problem, they got to add some workaround or put in do something. That's why I cringe every time I see a new update for my system with Maco. I'm like, let me get through the day, or it's usually Thursday night sometimes, and I have to watch when I run credit cards on Friday. I don't want to do anything. I want to run the cards first, because at least I knew the system worked before.
I had this. I had a bumper sticker on a cabinet in my office before I retired. It said, "Government motto: if it ain't broke, fix it till it is." And the cleaning crew, they tried stealing the damn things. They tried peeling it off, but it wouldn't come off, so they had to leave it. I was like, "You bastards!"
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, then Sunday we went to the air show, my wife and I, and had a lot of fun. I haven't posted any pictures yet, but although I did send those pictures in the group, that Challenger. The Challenger police car. Yeah, that was pretty nice. And then the back seat of the police car, the no ask for anything you want, no smoking, no drinking, and no eating.
Right. That was a good one.
Did they have at the air show? I cannot remember the name. I think it's the F-35. The new airplane that goes up, stops, and then kind of just goes to the side.
Oh, that's the F-22. The Raptor.
I saw a video of that thing.
They didn't have the Raptor there. They flew the F-35 though. I don't know why they didn't fly the Raptor. The last couple of years they've flown both the F-35 and Raptor on a demonstration.
Today was opening day for the baseball.
Yeah, all teams. It was like history, all teams.
And so I think the game was at 1. So about 12:45, because we're in a no-fly zone. I mean, unless you're commercial and you got to be whatever it is, 30,000 feet or whatever. It's very rare, especially down close to DC. I was downtown Silver Spring, so I'm right outside of DC. So there's very little. I mean, there's very little. Anything that's flying low is military, And like yesterday or Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday. They had two of the. They had the presidential. I guess Biden or what's her name was going someplace, and they usually fly 2 of those Black Hawk things or the helicopters.
And one went down. One went down in Maryland.
Yeah.
That's odd.
They always fly. When somebody's important, they always fly 2 together because it's a 50-50 odds if somebody's on a shoot.
Right.
Back when Obama was there, they used to fly 3. So, no, I'm serious.
I believe it.
That's the way it's. But going along the line, so today, like 12:45, they had from after doing, or I guess they were on the way to do the flyover at the game. They come ripping through, and I mean they were low, and talk about every bone in your body, everything was shaking. The ground was shaking when they were cutting across the air. It was pretty badass. Those fighter planes. I was like, man, That's awesome seeing those things fly like that.
Yeah.
And one guy was a little behind because he was trying to catch up, and dude, he was laying a rip line pretty hard going through town there. I was like, holy shit, trying to catch up to the other guys. So
big kid
on the Super Bowl. They made such a big deal that it was all female crew flying, as well as I believe the ground crew was all female.
yeah,
And I was pretty bummed out when they showed it, because I mean they did a regular flyover, but I was expecting, you know, since it was a big deal or whatnot, that they were going to turn and, you know, that they, as soon as they went over, they were going to peel to one way or the other and hit the afterburners and do something special. And I was like, it was a regular flyover. You know, I was bummed out.
That's one thing I loved when going to the NASCAR race, and we go like down to the Winston not the Winston, but the Coca-Cola or the All-Star event the week before down in Charlotte, because they would, where we sat, that when they came in and dipped down into the track, and they would do the fly, and they would come up and they hit those afterburners and shoot up out of there and of course go off. And you want to talk about the noise, but the heat was intense, dude. I mean, that was like a 30-second warm-up real quick. I mean, you know, I was like, holy crap. That was the best part of that, when they come flying over like that.
Trouble is, so many people have bitched about the noise and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care about the noise. I spent too many years. I wasn't in the flight line, but I spent too many years around the flight line.
Yeah.
The Air Force doesn't care how much noise they make. You just learn not to talk when they start flying over. You just shut up. As soon as they get over, then you start your conversation back. No big
It was
deal.
always funny when we go to Dover race. They'd have a C1, was it C41 or whatever?
Oh, the transport. Yeah.
The big old transport thing. And it would be like this big old bumblebee floating in the air. It'll be barely moving, you know, and this thing's coming over for the flyover, and like the ground would get dark. It would block that. That's how, you know, it would block the sun, you know, and you're like, holy crap, this thing, because it looked like you could reach out and touch it because that's how low it was. But this thing, you know, didn't really go that fast, but it just looked like a big old bumblebee sitting out there floating in the air. It's like, how's that thing even stay up in the air, you know? But those were always I always loved the flyovers. And
the Goodyear blimps are here in Akron. Their main thing is here in Akron, so we see them all the time.
Yeah, the blimps are pretty cool too. They used to have the blimps, but the flyovers. But those big old cargo plane thing, man, they look funny floating. They literally look like they're floating in the air. It's like, how in the world can that big ass thing stay up there?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm gonna jump off a little early tonight. The missus isn't feeling too well, so I'm gonna go in and rub her back.
Go rubber.
Excellent. Keep up the progress on that manifold. I want to see how that comes out. That's
yeah. Let me grab real quick. Don't look at my welding though.
Hey, at least he's welding.
Right.
Yeah. True.
Hey, I had to weld in the hangers for the exhaust, the muffler on the Honda this afternoon, and trust me, those were some ugly welds. My little
I'm sorry, Coach.
I got to get it. No, I got to get a 220 set up in the carport, because at Miller, but the one I used was was my Harbor Freight little thing, and oh my God, the welds on mine were ugly. That looks cool.
I think you're not getting enough voltage to it.
That's the main problem. I was getting ready to that. Were you using an extension cord?
Yeah.
Yep. I don't care how that's a problem. I deal with guys all the time, and you were having it's a voltage problem. So
I was thinking possibly ground issue, but
I'd say voltage because a guy I knew had a little 110 welder from Harbor Freight.
Yeah,
and
that's what it is.
He couldn't run a bead for shit till he finally went and turned on his generator on the motorhome, plugged it directly into the motorhome current, and ran good wells because he had good current.
Yeah.
So extension cords suck a huge amount of voltage out of your.
Let's see that again, Lewis. Put it back up. Yeah, look at that.
Hey, he's doing science fiction welding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to put the plate on the top, and then the carburetor go on top of that.
And what are you using for a plate? Is what did you like find a adapter or
no? I'm gonna make it.
You know, the other thing you could do is find any intake that mounts a Weber and just cut the plate off and weld it to that.
Well, you know what? I have it. Wait a minute.
We had one guy in school. He used assorted cans.
Really?
It's cast metal though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You'd have to. No, is that aluminum?
No, it looks like cast.
Yeah.
You'd have to cut it with a really good bandsaw, right, like there.
I can weld that on there though.
Well, the guy that's good with TIG can.
You could take it.
Yeah,
I think I can do it.
Bring that to the welder. Show him and tell him what you want to do, and see what he says. What's that off of that intake?
I don't know. It came with the carburetor.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was a 2-cylinder.
Probably a Fiat. I don't know. I don't ask questions. The guy said,
I get maybe so because it would have those. I mean, that type of import would have had 2 Webers, right?
No,
that only had 2 lines. It only had 2 pipes.
I was gonna say. Yeah, well, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you something right now. Let me find it.
Ray did an excellent job, man. Look at this thing; it's like brand new.
Well, say that after you know it works.
I'm sure it does. Woohoo!
See if I could find a picture here.
Do you notice I find myself into a whole bunch of weird custom stuff?
Yeah, but it's not weird. I mean, it makes sense what you're doing.
Those 4 carburetors give me the blues, man.
I know everybody. You know what? And as they age, they get a little more troublesome. So
finicky.
Yeah.
So on the bike, you have 4 carburetor setup, and you're switching to the 1.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why you have the 4 down pipes.
Yep. A lot of guys are switching over. They're buying manifold, but man, look, I make my own, man. Forget that. $200 for a guy that might send it, he might not.
Don't deny it, Lewis. You're just like some of the rest of us. Cheap.
Yeah, right.
And if you can make it yourself, so much better. That's
definitely
so much better. Here we go.
Yeah, I agree.
So hopefully it works. I had to throw a match on it.
I wouldn't do that.
Oh,
hell, even to put a stab at it and just see what happens. You know, it's worth it.
Yeah, it'll work because a lot of guys are doing it. I'll just copy what they're doing. You know what I mean? My welding really sucks, but hey.
Well, when you're on different materials,
look bad.
He told me just tack it up and give it to him. Just get it in the right spot. Man, this one's crooked. I'm going to redo this one. As soon as you start tacking, man, this stuff starts to move. I had it pretty set, pretty straight. But I'm looking at it now. This one's crooked.
It's all that heat. You gotta really you gotta tie that stuff down, or you gotta brace it, and
you
gotta
that's
watch.
why you usually go with a jig, or like a frame. Like when you see the guys building a frame and they have a frame table, it's so that when they put the heat to it, it doesn't the metal doesn't lock on you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a Fiat intake manifold. So this is the one that I got. My motor's a 2-liter, but this is off I forget if it's a 1600 or an 1800. And so, yeah, obviously there's four ports. And what I was doing was I was gasket matching. So, I came in here with a grinder and gasket
clean
match.
it up.
I got a part number.
Let me all right, let me stop sharing. Where are we? Stop sharing. Okay, what do you got?
CP 91052.
Okay. It looks like it's off a 2-cylinder though, so
Yeah.
I'll see what I can find, because if there's any, I'll look in some of my resources and see if I can find something. You never know.
Well, all right, fellas.
All right, Lewis.
All right, Lewis, take it easy. Be safe.
Carry on.
No, you guys be safe.
Be safe.
Oh yeah.
Check out my YouTube channel, Busting Out Schoolie. I'm starting to put up more videos.
Excellent.
I got a lot of electric done, so it's coming out pretty good. So I'm gonna spray foam probably in the next 2 weeks.
Spray foam.
Yep, and once that's done, it's a wrap, boy. I can really get in there and build.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, fellas. I'll see you later.
All right, Lewis.
Later, Lewis.
All right.
Good night.
Take care. Be safe.
All right. So what happened? We lost Justin too, huh?
Yeah, Justin left a little while ago.
Yeah.
Oh, the other coach they had at the clinic was the current coach of the Bengals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. His stuff was pretty interesting. He was talking about again, like I said, the other guys, his was the same stuff as far as program building, but he was talking a lot about the getting players to buy in and changing the culture and the language. And basically that if you look at his first year and then moving forward, how as time went on, the players in an interview, when the players start all sounding the same, it's not that it's scripted. It's what the coaching staff and the support staff is preaching throughout the building. And then the players are buying in, and it's not that it's scripted. It's that's what their motto or they're preaching. And the players that are picking it up, they all start sounding the same. They're on the same page.
I can see that. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's another term for that, but yeah. Just like pet owners will look like their dogs, and just like husbands and wives after a while will adopt mannerisms of each other. It's kind of the same thing, but in sports, I think it's intensified because you're in an intense situation, probably like with soldiers too. I mean, soldiers is a lot of high level training. You need to be the same because you have to be a cohesive unit. The unit has to act as one. So, if the man ahead of you falls, you have to take his place, and the man behind you is going to take your place. So that's different. So maybe it's a bad example, but I think in sports it is more intense than a regular civilian relationship, if you want to say that. And I could see how the team members would adopt each other's mannerisms and vocalizations.
Yeah. Well, that's where you get a winning team when you have people that are out for themselves or out to make the. Brian Billick from the Ravens said he told the players, "What's your goal? Are you looking to get into the Pro Bowl, or are you looking to try to get to a Super Bowl? If we can all get to the point of looking to get to a Super Bowl, the team will get to a Super Bowl. If you're looking to get to a Pro Bowl, well, your days are numbered here, and you're not gonna your chances of you getting to a Super Bowl are slim to nil."
Yeah,
and again, I've experienced it at the middle school level that when you have players that are really good, they have experience, and then you have players that aren't so good. If they can't meet in the middle and work together, you're going to have a rough season, and you're not really going to do anything. But when they can all work together, and kind of like you said in the military, even though it's different, when those players with experience are taking the other guys under their wing and bringing them up and helping them, you can have the most success ever. I mean, you can take that team and go against an all-star team and knock the socks off of them because that all-star team may have some individuals where you've got an actual team.
There's no I in team.
Correct. If you want an I in team, go play golf.
Yeah.
That's true. That was the first thing our training instructor told us was, forget about being civilians, forget about being individuals. You got to work as a team. And he drove it home by punishing us as a group. That way we'd take care of the problems.
Right.
Yeah. Well, my son, when he was in the Army, same thing.
Oh, yeah. Army is much worse than the Air Force because one of the problems with the Air Force is so many of our jobs require us to be individuals, self-motivating and all of that. Whereas the Army, you really got a lot of jobs that require teamwork. Because if you're going to go take something, you better do it as a group. The individual's going to get shot.
Yeah.
Although the mentality in the Air Force is changing, because one of the reasons my wife went and I went into the Air Force is you normally tell your pilots, goodbye, sir. Go have a good time. Go get them. Now they're starting to put airmen into jobs that I never did, like handing them a rifle and you escort this convoy.
Yeah.
Or as one friend of mine's son, who was a computer specialist, he got stuck in an Army forward combat post, and he's got 3 confirmed kills to his name, and he's in the Air Force.
Wow.
Come on now, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be shot at. The world has changed.
Yeah, I know of a guy here in town that during Vietnam, he went to the Air Force and he's thinking this is the best way I can stay out of it or stay far. Even if I got to go in country, I'll be in the back. And he picked combat search and rescue because he thought that he thought it sounded like the Coast Guard. So he's like, oh, I won't even go in country. I'll get to stay home. And then he gets a rude wake-up call. And he's picked the worst job if you're going to be in the Air Force and you're trying to stay out of stuff.
We had a combat rescue specialist in our NCO class. And one of the things they make you do is you've got to write a speech and present a class and things like that. I've never seen a man come so close to passing out when he knew it was being recorded. Then they turned around and they made us watch our own recordings. Oh God, if you don't think you look stupid. Yeah.
You know, Papa Squirrel, I got to tell you, that's something that I hear doing a radio show. I've had everything from just local guys, local nobodies, to some high-powered guys from different companies and areas of the hobby, and they come on and tell me like, "Oh man, we're going to be live on the radio, like with a microphone." I'm like, "Yeah." Like, I don't know if I can do that. I'm like, "Listen, dude, you're not standing in front of like 3 million people on a mountain and like preaching. It's like we're just going to talk." And people get so freaked out.
Yes, they do.
I just went through this fairly recently with somebody, and he wanted to get into doing videos. And but I hate the sound of my voice. I said, everybody hates the sound of their voice. I don't know why. I said, when I started doing my show, I recorded it and I listened to it every week. And I didn't do it to hear myself, by no means. I did it so I could hear what I was doing wrong, what I didn't like. And there was a lot that I didn't like. And every week I would try to make little changes and work on it. And I told this guy, I said, after doing that a couple weeks, a month, I don't know what it was. I said, you don't even hear your own voice anymore. You get so used to hearing it, like when you speak now, it turns into the same thing. You get over it, basically.
And it's because you don't hear your voice the way it sounds to others. You have your own idea of what it sounds like. And when you hear your voice, when you're talking to others, it can make you nervous.
I don't know. I don't know how you could quantify that statement, because how could you tell if it sounded different to somebody else than it sounds to you? You don't have a gauge to measure that. There's no, and I could ask you, hey, how do I sound? Do I sound different? Oh no, but you're going by what you hear, not by what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's a component of that in what I was saying. But like I said, if you do it enough, you get used to it. And
you develop.
I think it's more of a self-conscious thing where most people have bad vocal habits, bad vocal patterns. And I do too. Just doing that. I purposely stuttered because I was choosing my next word. It's better to just stop and, think. So I know I'm a lot better than I was. I'm not perfect and I never will be. And I accept that. Most of us use filler words all the time. And that's what we hate to hear, I think. Because it doesn't sound good. It just doesn't, So, yeah, it's something to get over. And but I've coached a lot of people like that and said, just don't worry, and then it's compounded by, if you put on headphones, now you're hearing your voice right through headphones. And talk about in your face, now it's right in your ears. There's no way for escaping that, and again, you get over that too. But
the funny thing is, I think after the first or second time I came on, it was on a Saturday or something like that. I re-listened to the show and I enjoyed the show, and I was like, I'm going to re-listen to it. And I wasn't really catching my voice. I mean, I was, but I wasn't really. It was just like I was listening to the show. But at one point, you had asked me something, Ray, and you said, Isaac. And then you ask a question, and I've got my headphones in. I'm out doing yard work, and I stopped what I was doing, and I answered the question, and then I heard myself answer the question.
That's great.
I was like, wait a minute, I'm listening to the show. What am I doing?
That's great. That's
I was
funny.
like, my neighbors hear me. They probably think I'm nuts talking to myself.
Yeah.
And not just talking to myself, but answering myself.
That's funny.
That's when you know you're nuts.
Yeah. Certifiable. That's great.
The way I look at it, as far as talking in front of people or whatnot, I still get a little nervous, but I look at it as they're people just like me. Most people can't handle being, like you said, on live radio, or like what we're doing right now is live,
right,
or in front of a crowd.
Mhm.
And so I think about it that everybody out, we're all the same. We all put our pants on the same, one leg at a time type of thing. And a lot of people struggle with those same feelings. Most people worse than others, but I've, like I got the chance. The Pac-12 network was doing a thing on different games, and I got the opportunity to go sit and interview as a fan for a game that happened in 1998. And like when it came out, I was excited. I told my family, we recorded it and everything. But every year, right before football season, they would show the game and show that the thing I was interviewing, and it tripped me out because people I knew and whatnot, or I'd run into, and they'd say, "I saw you on TV the other day," and I'm like, "I wasn't on TV. What are you talking about?" But again, I just went in, and it was an interview, and we were just talking, is the way I looked at it, and I just had fun. And I kind of look at it as enjoy the moment while you're in it. Don't think too heavy. And now my wife's version is she says I like to hear myself, or I like to see myself, so that's why I enjoy it. But I'm like,
the other thing that happened to me was years ago. I was already doing a radio show, and then I was coupled with two other fellows. We did a car show every year, and as part of the car show, since the money we raised, we donated to not charities, to scholarships to the local high school. So we were invited to the awards night to grant the scholarships. So the one guy he kind of saw himself as the leader, so he always headed that area, and then he got tired of doing it, so he asked me to do it one year, and I said, yeah, sure. So I went, and now I stood in front of that on the high school auditorium on the stage looking at not a packed crowd, but a fairly large crowd, and had that little bit of trepidation saying, oh, shit, like, wow. And I talk on a microphone all the time, and I hear my voice, but now when I talk to the mic, everything kind of echoes, and it was it took me out of my comfort zone a little bit. And for a minute, I was a little uncomfortable, and then I just remembered what people said. They say, look to the back of the room, don't look at people, look over them, they can't tell where you're looking, and then look at your copy if you have it, and just speak slow. And I'm pretty good at ad-libbing, so I would ad-lib a lot of stuff, and got through it with no problem. And my kids were in school. Occasionally they would have to do a presentation in front of the class, and they were scared. And I said, just look at the back of the room, and just slow and do your thing, and don't look at your friends, because they'll screw you up. And
boy, will they.
And it works. Some people never get it. Some people really have a hard block, and they just can't do it. But most people can if you have any kind of self-assuredness to yourself, and you kind of believe in yourself, you can pull it up, so.
One thing about doing it in front of a group of people that though, definitely don't look at them if you're in the military, because they'll fuck you up on purpose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I learned how to ignore quite well.
Yeah. But I see KG's Garage is saying YouTube videos. Yeah, same thing with YouTube videos. Now that's really hard. If you're doing videos, you have the impression you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
But when you watch enough of them, you realize, you're talking to a broad audience that you have no idea how big it is. And that's a hard thing to pull off, to talk to yourself, be informational, be educational, be entertaining. And most of the videos I watch, truthfully, are too long. people talk too much. And believe me, I've always been accused of being too verbose. I like to talk, but you got to kind of train yourself when you're doing something to like get to the point, you know, and you could go off on tangents. That's okay. I was just watching one tonight, and this is something I was criticized by someone that was in my circle a while ago with even doing a radio show. It's like, you know, you talk to a certain audience and you talk over the heads of all of us guys who don't know as much as you. I said, well, look, I don't do that on purpose. I'm not trying to ostracize any group, but I know that when I listen to the show as a listener, I want to hear the technical stuff. I want to hear stuff at my level. I don't want to hear necessarily the ABCs. You know, I'm an advanced user. I want advanced content. And then the argument was, well, a lot of your listeners are not advanced. Like, yeah, I get that. But if you do everything starting from ground zero, you'll never get any content out, because by the time you get to where you want to be, what you want to talk about, you'll be talking for a couple hours, and you know it's not relative. It's not going to work. So yeah, it's YouTube videos. Guys who do YouTube videos well, and girls who do them well, I give a lot of credit to. You know, because it's not easy.
You have no feedback.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the hard thing. Like I watch, you know, the other people at the radio station, most of them, they all do music shows. A lot of these people record their shows. You know, we do ours live. So we like phone calls. But the guy who does the show before me, he's been doing it a long time. And I'll sit there in the studio with him and watch him. And I'll see he's got no songs up on the computer to play. And he'll just start talking and just ad lib and ramble, and I'm thinking like, well, I'd be pulling songs up. I'd want to have all my stuff ahead of time. You know, I'm that way. And at the last minute, he'll just pull something and drop it in and play it. I'm like, damn, man, you have, you know,
that's that Rob guy, right?
Yeah, I give him a lot of credit. I mean, he comes off as, I don't know what he comes off as. I mean, he comes off as, yeah, everybody comes off different to everybody, but when I watch him, and even Kim, who comes in after me, I've watched her and said, you know, you and Rob, I guess you've just been doing it longer than me. You guys are real pros, man. You're not afraid of anything. And me, that's one of my phobias. I want to have everything like you know, I want to have my tools ready. I want to have all of my files up and ready to go. And you know, now that you can see us on YouTube, you can see what I'm doing, and it looks like for probably 60 to 70% of the show, I'm not in it, but I am. I'm doing 2 or 3 things at once, and I'm pulling my files up right after we come live after the open. I'm getting those files out, and I'm pulling up the stuff for the mid-show break, just so I know that they're there. Then right after that, I'm pulling up the stuff for Kim's show after us, so she's ready. And you know, well, they'll do it at the last second and be like, "Oh yeah, no big deal. Let me do it." I'm like, you know, I freak out. That's where I freak out. So, you know,
the funny part for me, Ray, is when I was watching, you know, being on the Zoom thing there, you know, watching you there. The funny part was like when you went to the commercial and you weren't saying the commercial because it's taped.
Right. I did.
You know, and I'm like, what? You know, I'm like, this ain't live, you know, because it's like, and then of course I know that you're not doing that, you know, you're not reading it live, but it was just funny hearing your voice, you know, hearing you, and then of course you're like running around getting stuff loaded up,
right,
and doing it, and I just thought it was kind of funny because
it's because I did the live read for the commercial,
and that's one of my things that I just can't stand, listening to the radio. And like the traffic report, it's recorded.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the same. Of course, the biggest problem for me, most people don't understand this, but I'm in the truck all day.
Right.
So, you know, I hear, and of course, you know, when I start out at 7:00 in the morning and they talk about the traffic, they'll replay that same thing every 15 minutes, and it's the same. I was like, dude, this What do you mean? It hasn't changed. You know.
Same thing with the weather.
Yeah, it drives me crazy here because it's a recorded, and then of course the next hour or the next segment, it's updated on the thing. So of course there's three replays of that thing, and it drives me crazy.
I'll tell you this: radio in general, they go by the stats and the specs, and they know that listeners don't. The average listener does not listen for long periods of time. They're in and they're out. They'll listen maybe, at home before work and in the car going to work. And then when they're at work, a lot of times they can't listen at all. So they're in and out during the day. So they never catch that. But when I was at work, I had a radio on all day. So I would hear that as well and say, but that was, we were among the outliers in that. But, KG's Garage is just asking him to stream worked on Sunday. He's right about the editing. You can edit out all the crap. But editing, like everybody says, like Terry I always ask guys who do YouTube videos because I was going to dabble in it. We made a couple that we just didn't post them. And I asked, how long what's your average editing session? And even Terry told me, wow, for a video that I put up that's 10 to 15 minutes, I could be in there for 3 hours editing. Like, oh, man. It's like talk about a chunk of time. But the stream on Sunday, yes, it did work, and no, it didn't work. And here's why. Here's where adding too many, things to the recipe screws you up. When we're going live, I got to get Chris on the YouTube on the Zoom meeting. And I got to make sure his screen is muted and my other one isn't. Otherwise, I get a feedback. So I got to remember to do that. Now I got I got to go through Zoom and tell it to broadcast to YouTube Live, and which I did. And then I got to go back to the Zoom screen and start the recording on Zoom. And I don't want to do that too far in advance because then it's a lot of extra stuff in the beginning and like Kim doesn't like being on camera and she comes around a lot. So I'm trying to respect her wishes. So the bottom line is when I said to record it to YouTube, I waited a few seconds. The screen didn't change. I went right back to the Zoom screen so I could start that because I know now my spots are playing and I got to keep one eye on that because I have to start the next one. I got 4 of them and I got to load another 2, my opens. So I got to watch that board close. But I got to watch the computer too. So this is where it gets sketchy. And what happened was it didn't broadcast live to YouTube. It recorded, and I got the recordings, but they didn't go live. So now I have to see. I sent it to Chris because it did it in a 2-hour block. He broke it in half because he has video editing software that I don't. And now we're going to see if we can upload it independently. So I was on
I hadn't seen it yet hit Facebook. I hadn't seen it hit.
Chris put up a clip today. I saw part of it. He didn't even watch the whole thing. He was talking, it was about the Corvette dash. That was from the first hour. I wanted him to put up the stuff from the second hour. We were on because we had some. I got 4 audio clips from there that I'm going to use, either in promos or Mother's Day shows. Some funny stuff. It's funny.
Being live or being on a radio is just, it takes talent.
Well, it's, I don't know. It's experience and it can be learned. I'll say, I don't want to say anybody can do it because there's probably people who just can't do it. I've had some people who were terrible guests and terrible hosts because they just, they didn't have enough practice, I don't think, or they didn't care to practice. Most people, I think, can do it, especially anybody who does something like this could definitely do it.
Well, I
like this because it's a very relaxed atmosphere.
Yeah, Brian, we had a blast too. It's really good. We were going to call in Carl Anthony, and I said, "Hey, wait a minute." I said, "No, Chris." I said, "I'm not going to call Carl." I said, "I'm going to ask Brian." He's like, "Brian?" I said, "Yeah, we had Carl on just a little while ago." I said, "I want to get Brian in." I said, "Because there's something we got to talk about." And he's like, "Okay." So he didn't know where I was going with that. I said, "Yeah, we're just something I want to talk to him about it there." And said, and he was cool with it. And then when you said, "Yeah, Ray, just pull up a chair, just make the popcorn," Here we go. I was rolling.
Yeah.
That was funny as hell.
So no, like I said, I enjoy it, and
yeah,
I always have fun when I'm on. So
yeah, and we have fun. We have fun with you because and that's the thing. Like I have Luke Tucker coming on Sunday, and Luke is great. And a lot of these guys like Carl and Luke and Eddie Lyle. I've never met. I mean, I've never seen you in person either, but I feel a lot closer to you, and I feel like I know you a lot better than I know those guys. And even though we have a good time, it's not the same, So because of the familiarity, like here, we joke around a lot because we're comfortable with each other. So
you're gonna have Luke this weekend?
Yeah, Luke
this week. Oh, that's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
He was funny at Expo. So
he sent me some of the magnetic stuff, sample stuff, and I'm trying to figure out just where to put it and use it because I got crap everywhere. I don't have a lot of surfaces left to put this stuff on.
As you're talking about for the wrenches, the wrench stuff, and
the wrench thing, a socket thing, the can holder, the pry bar holder. What else? A bunch of. One of them, I don't even know what the hell it is. It's red. It's got magnets on it. So,
yeah. The nice thing about the wrench holders, like I said, even I tell you, it was. I told you about the guys that invented the tool grid, right?
Oh yeah.
When they walked over and Luke had won the.
This is all the Easy Red.
Oh yeah.
This was the flyer that they put out.
The one on the bottom there, that's that was mat. The mat, right?
One of them, he sent me one of them, and it holds 4 wrenches. I was like, what are you going to do with the wrench holder for 4 wrenches? Like
because it goes to the one that has the long one.
Oh.
If you have from 8 to 19, that's one. But if you have the 25 or 24. You need the 3 extra pieces.
I got it.
And a lot of guys can't figure that out.
I did
because if you lay the one wrench rack down, the big one, the other one slides in on the top, and it looks like it's one piece then. So, of course, a lot of people are like, "Well, I want to carry the whole thing," and I said, "Dude, if you're carrying around 8 to 24,
no,
dude, you got." I said that you're asking for trouble. I mean, but like I said, you could put that. Ideally, if you just put it in your roll cart or in your drawer, it's not going to move around, and you could. I meant to give him. I got to tell him he needs to do that wrench rack one way, and I don't know if you can transverse them to go the other, so that you can, when you stack the wrenches in, you have like the triangle going this way.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then you have the triangle going the other way, so you can lay it in your. Because I told him after those guys came with the tool grid. I showed Luke a couple ideas, and he's like, I said, you're going to really piss them off because they spent the tool grid is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but the time consuming part of it, most guys don't have the patience to do it. I've been working for a year on my toolbox trying to get the tool grid.
Yeah, right.
And
well, that's the problem. If you have too many options, it now is a problem.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's better to have very few or just one option, and then you deal with it or you don't.
Yeah, that used to drive me crazy with our toolboxes, because when you turn around, if you take Snap-on, they have a cookie cut toolbox.
Right.
They're all the same. And of course, we made ours on our end. You could change the drawer sizes. You could put different drawers in. You could do this. Your options are I don't want to say unlimited, but you have so many different options.
Right.
And then when you start getting into color, remember one time there was only like 3 colors.
Oh, sure.
Now we have, 14 colors and 18 different trims, and you can change the drawers. I mean, like I said, it's a whole production, and it's like, holy crap, just buy a toolbox, dude. I got guys that spend days because we had that tool configurator, and they want to change. Well, let me see what it looks like with this drawer, and let me see what it looks like with this drawer.
Yeah.
Let's go with this trim. And I'm like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
Go home and have a cold one and figure it out and print it and then bring it to me,
That's a little above. That's like I said, when you have too many choices now, it puts you against the wall now, because you don't want to make a bad choice, and you always think, well, what if I would have done this, or what if I would have done that?
Yeah.
And it's too much. It's just overload. I mean, you're a perfect example, with trouble you're having.
Yeah, I have. I can't even tell you how many times after getting all that stuff done, and then the guy goes, I want to change this drawer. I want to order a drawer. And I'm like, dude, that drawer is like $250, dude. Yeah. And it's like, well, you got to work with me. And I'm like, what do you mean I got to work with you? What am I,
I've got your mind.
I mean, I've got, I don't know, 8 or 9. I mean, they're nice drawers. If you ever want to add a drawer to a workbench, dude, all you gotta do is make a bracket. I mean, an L-shaped bracket to put slides on it, and you got a hell of a drawer,
Right.
And again, it's like, dude, I'll work with you. Okay, the best I can do is give it to you for cost.
Yeah.
And of course, then then you gotta pray to the gods of shipping that when they ship this drawer out, somebody doesn't decide to walk across it or boot it across the conveyor belt, and not damage it. And that's a whole nother 3-ring circus, but
yeah,
it's crazy. So, well, that's good. Yeah,
and now I gotta reach out to Eddie Lyle again, because I want to get him in rotation. And the guy from Epi's Tools here in Brooklyn, they've been around a long, long time.
Yeah.
And they sell a lot of different stuff. And he's another good guy. So I don't know. We'll see who's available, what they're doing.
Yeah, that's good.
So did you work on the Audi more? Did you get the fuel pump in?
No, I still have the fuel pump sitting right here.
What happened? Lunch called.
No. When I got done with you guys, I went out, and of course it rained. I mean, it rained all day Saturday, so the ground was wet.
Yeah.
And I had got the thing. It's already jacked up, but I had it had a pre-filter.
Okay.
It had a small pre-filter coming right out of the tank.
Yeah.
Okay. And I said, you know what? I want to take that out. I want to take that out of the. Just take that out, because when I had taken the hose off the other end, there was a little bit of the Varsol, not the Varsol, but the settlement from the tank, the old gas, it was kind of soupy, and I said, I'm just going to take the filter up out of the way. And it had the, a regular, I thought I saved it, but I guess I didn't, band, like a hose clamp, type. Well, they were so corroded.
Yep.
I couldn't get it loose, and I only the gas tank it's in the trunk, like on an old pickup truck, behind a seat. It's sitting up,
right,
and it comes out on the bottom right next to the differential. So I only have a real small area to work. So I had to get my Sawzall, battery powered Sawzall, and I had to cut the clamps off.
Sawzall, yes.
Yeah, and I got all that out, and I actually opened the filter up. I left it outside, but it was just packed with varnish and stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I cleaned all that out, and then I put in by that time I was soaking wet. From laying on the ground. All I could find was all I had was cardboard. So
Right.
I'd laid some cardboard and I was wet, and by that time I was like, you know what? Next weekend I'll just get it. And,
Okay. Yeah.
So
actually, I heard our weather forecast here wait. I'm trying to remember if I heard rain on Saturday or nice on Saturday. I may be thinking of last week. I may be wrong. Okay, good. Hopefully it'll be a good day.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be really nice, and we, like I said, even though it was kind of funny, we had a freeze warning last night.
Yeah,
and I was supposed to. I didn't put my plant. I was going to put my plants out. I had I've started tomatoes, onions, potatoes,
nice,
carrots, and what's one more? I have something else started.
Okay.
And I was going to put them out. I thought we were over, but I'm glad I didn't.
No, even I was talking to my daughter's fiance, and he was saying in North Carolina right now it's like 4 seasons, because he's up at like 5 to go to work, and it's like in the 40s. It's cold, and it warms up during the day. And then the afternoon, he says it actually got humid already.
Yeah.
Wow. And there's a lot of pollen, and then at night it gets cold again. So he says we're really like got 4 seasons in one day now down here.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, we're not that bad up here.
So, because it's like, I'm surprised. It was warm today, but we're already sitting at 39. It's still a little chilly.
Yeah, we're 41 and a half outside. So we'll
so I don't know if I might wait another week before I put them out. Go ahead and put them in.
Yeah, but not a bad idea.
So, and plus, was it last week? I think last week, one of the dogs got into my sweet peppers. That's what it was.
Nice.
And the dog got in and ate the damn milk container. Damn dog. We'll beat him.
I was going to ask if you had any wildlife down there.
Oh yeah, we got tons.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Dude,
they get hungry.
Yeah. So that's that's what everybody says. Well, what do you it's kind of like you grow X amount knowing that you're going to lose X amount,
Right.
It's kind of like
it's like having you have a waste allowance for waste.
Yeah. And it's somebody said, well, it's like I have two tomato plants and 2 regular tomatoes and 2 cherry, and somebody said, holy crap, that's a lot of tomatoes, because you know how much they produce.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but I'll lose half of it from something. I mean, it's same thing with like when I this is the first year that I'm doing onions, so I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I'm doing onions and potatoes. I've never done potatoes or onions.
Now potatoes, they need some space for that.
Yeah, carrots are a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because carrots are the same way. You start them out, and then you gotta spread them out, or they don't grow.
We grew. What did we grow last year? My wife did. It was something leafy. It took a lot more space than I thought. It might have been peppers, green peppers. Yeah, they really like blossomed out. Like, whoop.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to. I did green. I did big peppers, not the sweet peppers, but I did the regular peppers, and that did take a lot of room.
Right.
And of course, I got to deal with my neighbor. She does like zucchini, squash, and pumpkins. And dude, that's like a jungle over there, dude.
So you do the Amish thing. You trade off on who's got what.
No, she's too mean.
Oh, really? So what's the deal? What's the
they grow up over the fence, right? They'll grow up over the fence.
Oh, so you just pick them and eat them. You don't
right? And then she comes over and tells me I stole her zucchini or I stole her stuff, and I said, "Well, then keep your shit on your side of the fence."
It fell into my yard.
One time, I gone out there and I pulled you had to, when they're hanging on the fence, all the water goes down to the bottom, so they're bad. I mean, they don't grow right,
Right.
So I go out there and pull the vine and lay them on the ground so they grow right,
Right.
And so I was out there picking them one time, and all of a sudden I went in. I had like 4 or 5, and I went in. And I was coming back out. She was pulling them up over the fence and ripping the vines across the
Yeah.
She has these God, what were they called? Tiger something pumpkins. They're Japanese and they're white. They're like a white pumpkin.
Really?
With a black stripe in them or something.
That's cool.
And we had one of those, and she was all fired up because she sells them at the farmer's market. And
yeah.
So one year we picked them all, put them in the box and set them on their front porch. And her husband came over and kind of said something. And I was like, dude,
take a hike.
She's all fired up over it. So just tell her to keep her shit over in her yard.
Nah.
But I'm hoping, like I said,
from what my dad taught me was the old Mosaic Jewish law, I believe it was Mosaic, is that when you plant crop on the outer edge, and you don't pick it, because that's for the traveler, the widow, and anybody going by. And basically you have abundance in your hearing. And I mean, for me, I would like to get a apple tree or something like that, some type of fruit growing, and that's where I plan to right at my fence line. So if it grows over, because right behind the house, people walk their dogs and walk, families walk. And if I can get something like that to grow, you're walking by the back of the house and it's hanging over, as long as you're to it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So, speaking of food, it was really it was unrehearsed, untimed, unscheduled. But when Tom walked in with that Sicilian pizza,
that was awesome, man.
And really, like he told the story a couple of years ago, he called in with that problem with his Escalade, with the speed sensor, and Joe was with me at the time, and Joe was diagnosing it. This went on from a few phone calls, a couple of weeks in a row, and Joe finally said, "Listen, are you ever nearby here? I should see you and get in this truck." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm near there. I'll stop by." So he came outside, came to the studio outside. We have a big parking lot out there that's empty on Sundays. And he brought his son, and he brought strudel, the Italian cookies and coffees for everybody. We sat in that Escalade, and Joe just had him doing circles in the parking lot while I was reading the data, and he diagnosed the speed sensor being bad.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, that's what I was listening. But that was awesome, man. I tell you.
He shows up with the pizza, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You can't make that up.
That was good.
It was good pizza too.
I bet.
Yeah,
it looked good.
Yeah, it was very good. So you never know what's going to happen. Live radio, you get some surprises. You just never know. It's always fun. Just like on the tool route, I guess you never know what's going to happen when you walk into the shop.
No, never.
That's funny.
Never know. There's always something interesting for sure.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I don't know. So it's just. So did you get the instrument cluster all done? I mean, that's all. Everything was working.
Yeah. I gave it back to Mike about a week or so ago, and then it took him a while. It was some bad weather. I think he went away for a couple of days, and he just put it in. I think it was Saturday. Was it Saturday? No, it must have been Sunday morning.
Yeah, he
Sunday
called
morning,
you
right
about
before the
something,
show.
right?
He sent me the pictures and said, yeah, he plugged it in and everything was good. So I said, I want to see if he drove it to see how the display would work, but he hadn't driven it yet. So, I told him, I said, there's a lot of luck involved. He goes, no, it's skill. I'm like, there's some skill and training involved in how to use a soldering iron. I said, you could probably teach a monkey who's not hungry how to do it. I said, but the rest of it is knowing what to look for. I said, and I didn't find any smoking guns. I didn't find anything that was a visible red flag. So all I did was just heated up and, retouched every single solder joint. And I said, a lot of times that solves problems, that you have. And even though nobody went in there and there's no oxidation or no degradation of the board, it makes a difference. I guess it happens sub solder level, you can get some stuff happening. So
buddy of mine, one of my customers, good friend of mine, he's my he just sent me a text. He's rebuilding a lithium ion pack for his weed whacker.
Yeah.
And he's got he had 3 batteries, and I guess he went to go price one out, and it was like $275 for a battery.
Yeah.
So of course he opens it up and gets the meter out, and he found the 2 bad cells.
Wow.
So he took another one apart and tested, and that had 1 bad cell or 2 bad cells. So he's going to take the 2. So he started messing around, and I told him, I said, with the lithium ion, you got to be really careful, because when you solder them, you got to watch the heat.
Yeah.
So he just texted me and said that he got this, what is it called? Spot welder.
Okay.
A spot solder iron for lithium ion batteries.
I'd like to see that. Okay. Wow.
And see this,
it's
this little, it looks like a jumper thing. It has two leads. One's a ground, and you crank up the voltage, and then you take the other one, touch it, and it zaps it.
Cool.
He said it was like $75.
That's not bad.
So I told him, I said, well, I got because I've redone some nickel ones for the impact guns.
Right.
And I said, well, I'll have to look into that. And he was going to send me the info for this. So when I get it, if you want it, Ray, that might be something you're. So when we had to do battery repair on our Prius,
no, I was thinking about, I have some. Actually, I have a razor, and I have a trimmer that I use all the time, and that I can see. And I'm not sure what kind of battery's in it. I got to see, because over the years, the charge used to last a lot longer than it does now, and even when it used to die down, you could hear the motor would be slow. It would slow down. Now it kind of slows and just stops. So it's a pain in the ass. So I was thinking about maybe changing out the battery once I find out what it is. I'm thinking, you know what? That's me. I'm gonna bust apart a plastic case that was kind of probably resistance welded that you're not supposed to take apart.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna end up having black electrical tape wrapped around this thing, or like crazy glue on it, and then I'm gonna have to find a replacement battery and change it. And I'm like, I could just buy another one probably for $30.
Yeah.
And, but
I used to. I don't have them. But the same thing with some of our rechargeable drop lights.
Yeah.
And then I would take a heat gun and heat up the seam and with a razor blade, and then you could pop it open and pull the battery out. And of course, it has a number. I'd find the battery online and get it, and then I could put it back in. Some of them had actual pin connectors, so it wasn't solder. I hate soldering, and that's why I want to look into this, because some of that stuff is so small, and the connections are so close that you don't want to.
I'll actually use my magnifier light, and I'll wear my glasses too, just to magnify that stuff to get in there. But when it's so small, like this, I've had stuff that was too small, and I got to give it to my buddy who works at a company where they do. I used to work there too. We did electronics, and it's almost like a microscope soldering station, to get into those edge connectors and the there's a name for them. Damn, why can't I think of it? There's a term for it. I just can't think. But they are very, very small. You can't do it normally, unaided. It's just too small. It's, surface mount. It's surface mount technology. And that stuff is small, So I
see that you can see see where those two are the bad cells.
Oh yeah, okay. Gotcha.
And the tester, the welder came with, you can see over here, it has let me get the glare out. See the strips? It had extra strips so that when you put it in. So
gotcha.
So I'll get that.
What brand weed whacker was it?
It was Roby, I think. I think it was a Roby or whatever.
I have a Ego weed eater.
Yeah, Pete had
I've not
the
had
whole
problems
thing.
with it. I'm just curious.
But it was funny because it's funny, until you take it apart and realize he had a 2-amp battery and a 4-amp battery. And the 2-amp battery went bad, so he bought a 4-amp battery, and he didn't realize. But when he opened them up, it had half the batteries in it.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah,
and, and he was like, dude, this doesn't make any sense, because like the 2-amp battery was, $199, and then the 4-amp battery was like $220. So for $20 more, you're getting twice the batteries. It didn't make sense money wise, but he's like, dude. So that's why he was going to take the other 2-amp battery and whatever, and then with the other 4-amp battery, whatever cells he need, he was just going to take from the 2-amp. It was, measure them, and if they were good, swap out the bad ones or whatever.
And he's one of your customers on the route?
Yeah, he owns a shop. He's my like I said, he's a good buddy of mine. He does the work, whatever I can't do on the like if I need the tool truck. Like I said, he does my tires because he has a tire machine. And if I don't,
he does. I'm curious what leads him to do the electronic stuff.
He's just like us. He doesn't want to pay the price.
Because a lot of people stay away from that because it's kind of black magic.
Yeah, and Pete's a really good guy. That's the that he's got the girls have got his phone number. If they have a problem, take it to Pete because you know he'll take care of the problem, and we'll settle up later. I mean, it's not a and
it's funny because that's like now with my daughter going back down to North Carolina. That guy, her fiance's cousin, is the guy who has the shop that gave her that dealer plate, and it's about a year ago. She was down there visiting, and they were talking, and she said something about, my dad's into this or into that. And, what's your dad do? So she starts telling him, what I do. And then she brought up my Instagram page and said, like he posts all the stuff that he does. He's like, wow, he gets involved with a lot of different things, doesn't he? And she's like, yeah, he does. So he started following me, and I followed him back. He never posts much of anything, but he says, I'd love to meet your dad and talk to him. And so she tells me this. I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go. Another guy wants to meet me and talk to me. Oh, shit. I've heard that before. And it usually ends up bad. So, but now fast forward to this where I said, he's going to be your first point of contact if you need something done down there. I said, tell him I think we need to talk. and they were telling me that he doesn't really do any work. He's got a shop down the block that does his inspections and some work, but he has a guy that works in a little shop behind his shop, and he's been with him for like 30 years. Yeah. And he's like his go-to mechanic. I said, you know what? I probably need to talk to that guy too. I said, because the first thing I want to find out is, do you own a torque wrench? And do you know how to use it? Yeah. I said, do you know what a tire pressure gauge is? Do you know how to use it?
Yeah, Pete, that's where I keep my spare tire, a spare tire or whatever. So if I have he's in the center of my route.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And, if I have a tire issue or whatever, I go by, there, and he keeps a tire in stock I guess, I don't know what it was. I had something. Might have been when one time. Oh, well, I use his AC machine. That's usually how I get the free, check the AC. It must have been something with the AC. And like I said, I swing by, and it's either Pete or one of his guys. They go out and climb around on the truck and cool, fix it. I mean, like I said, it's funny. All the girls have his number program in his phone.
Yeah.
And they got I put a sticker up above the sun visor with the shop number and, his brother and his, and if you can't get in touch with me, if you have a problem, just call Pete.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very good. That's excellent.
And and actually, to be honest, I mean, I have 3 or 4 other guys on my route that are like that,
And you got to hear Dad. So will he fix damage that I get in the driveway at home or parked in front of the house?
Hey, I actually, when the night that I did that, when I backed into Emma's car and tore the tire up, it was 9:00 at night, and I called him. And I said, Pete, are you still at the shop? He said, yeah, why? I said, do you have a tire? And he goes, what tire? And I told him the size, and he goes, yeah. He goes, what's happened? I said, well, I backed into Emma's car, and I slit the tire. And he goes, well, do you want me to bring it by? Bring it by the house? Did you take the wheel off and you want to bring it by, or what do you want to do? And I said, no, I want to drive it up there. Can't remember why. It was something else. And he said, yeah, come on by. So I filled up the tire, and it's not that far, but I drove it up there, and it was kind of funny because we ended up changing the tire and did an oil change, put new wiper blades on. Like I said, it's just
Yeah, you did the service, right?
Got it all straightened out, but
Right.
we pulled on the fender to clear the door. He took we buffed out the paint, the white mark that I left down the side of the truck in the car.
Yeah.
So he's a good guy.
That's like, this glass guy that I went to today. He's really cool. We kind of hit it off, and he's got a daughter, so he understands the whole thing. And I said, she didn't really even understand everything of what I do. I said, she would come over when she was living, one town away. She'd come over to visit with my wife and my other daughter. I said, and when, while they're talking, I run outside, I'm checking her tire pressures, I'm checking the oil, I'm, topping off the fluids. I said, they don't even know that I went outside and did this.
Yeah.
I said, so that's what kind of bothers me about, her not being around. But he goes, oh man, I get it. He goes, they don't really know what we do. But, but we do.
That's Molly had stopped by, and it was the same thing. They all get talking, so I kind of went out, give the old kick the tires, check the oil, looked at the lights, and pulled on the window,
Yep.
And so it's funny.
Exactly.
It's funny that
So,
you do that.
Isaac, I got to ask you, what led you to shave the goatee into the trident pattern?
Baseball season.
Why?
Baseball season.
So I don't get the correlation.
Some of the old school baseball players, usually they didn't have the trident. It's just the sides.
Okay, I want to show you something from 1994.
Yeah.
The only thing is I can't do that.
You can't, yeah.
I can't bring it up and down, but
Dad, I found you.
That was me in 1994. So I had to ask.
Yeah, I'm
You don't see it that often.
The other thing is as I usually as I'm working it down to shave, I start little by little.
Yeah.
And then I let it start growing all back again.
Right.
But partially too because it's baseball season.
Okay. Good
enough. You didn't have the line when you the one with was that Lauren, right?
Right.
The one picture, yeah.
Yeah, that was different. Well, I've done all sorts of different stuff. That was
and my sides don't grow thick enough, so I can't do the chops too well.
Can't do the chops, yeah.
No.
Yeah, the handlebars. I used to have the handlebars. The problem is my handlebars went from black to gray.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only reason why I don't have them, because I still get so much crap about why do I darken my mustache but not anything else.
Right. That's funny.
And the picture of Raymond Burr was funny.
Yeah.
That was
I'm watching. I just happened to turn it on. It was the newer Perry Mason. I'm like,
the Perry Mason. Yeah.
Look at that. So I got to figure out a way to put those two pictures, the picture of you and the picture of him together.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And next, the first on FTE Adam 12.
I know. Also, Leave It to Beaver is starting on FTE on the first at 6:00. So that means I got 5 to 6 on Me TV of Adam 12. Then I can go over to 6:00 and have Leave It to Beaver.
No, it's 6. Well, it's 6:00 and 11:00 for one. Adam 12.
Yeah. I guess that's a fairly new station by here, but I guess they're picking up all the old TV stuff. They're picking up all the feeds, which is great.
I've been watching Hogan's Heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had one weekend that Archie Bunker, what is it, All in the Family?
That started here too, yeah.
That was on, but I haven't been able to find it again. Although I've got one that I recorded saved, and if I click on episodes, I can go and watch
I think it's on here on Sunday nights.
Sunday
that might be what it is.
Yeah,
that might be what it
one
is.
night. It's Saturday night or Sunday night.
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, I showed it to my. I recorded it and saved it, and showed it to my older son because I thought he'd get a kick out of it.
Oh yeah.
Especially he gets a kick out of the movie Gran Torino.
Oh yeah.
Some of the commentary, as you could say, to keep it clean on there.
Right.
Especially because my older son, he's part Filipino.
Okay.
So we kind of go back and forth on that movie.
You saw that in the paper. You saw that where they haven't heard from Clint Eastwood in 400 days. He hasn't been seen.
Really?
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, they put a. I don't know who it was, but they said that it's been 410 days or whatever that Clint Eastwood has not been photographed or seen.
Wow.
Outside in the public. And one of his kids is a golfer, is into golf, and he usually shows up to watch him play in one of the tournament, and he hasn't shown, so they put out a thing to his publicist and family, and nobody's answered anything. But it's been 409 or 410 days since his last photo in public.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy. It's over a year. And,
yeah.
And nothing's been. I'll be kind of curious if that comes up. If he's passed or something.
Right.
Because he was like he's 90 something, right?
Yeah.
And Dick Van Dyke just had a incident.
He crashed into a car or a fence. Or something.
He's 97, dude.
Yeah, they say he's okay though. They say he's okay.
But
maybe time to give up the license.
But he was awesome on Masked Singer. I don't know if anybody saw that. But he was a guest. He was one of the singers on Masked Singers, and it was really great seeing him. He's, like I said, it's an icon like that. Seeing, and it's hard to believe, being 97 and being out and up and around.
I know, it's funny. I hear the Dick Van Dyke Show is on at like, was it 11 or 11:30 or something? So I would catch pieces of it.
Yeah,
and that was a funny show. He was a great comedic. What do they call it? Like a
slapstick.
Yeah, no, there's a name for it when you do physical comedy, though. Because he was one of those guys that would do the physical comedy, like the Marx Brothers, or like even like Jackie Gleason. He would trip and fall, and he would basically throw himself around. He was good at that.
Yeah.
How the hell he never broke anything like that?
I don't know. There's a name for that, and I can't think of what it is, but he was very good at it. And Mary Tyler Moore, I could watch her all day and all night. No problem watching her.
Barbara is in her 90s also.
Oh yeah.
Sure. So I'll be really surprised. I'm kind of, ever since they put that bulletin out or trying to figure, I'm really surprised nobody's come up with anything yet.
Where did you see that, Brian?
It was on one of those news pages on my server.
Okay.
It was one of those entertainment things. Actually, I saw one today, dude. I tell you, they had our fearless leader walking out to meet these union guys, and his guide
was like straight with that blood clot stuff.
He was like, now the blue square or the blue X is where you're supposed to stand. And, he's on mic, but they're whispering, so they cranked it up so you could hear. And Biden comes out and goes, so it's the blue X, right? The blue X. And he's like, yeah, the blue X. I'm here to help you. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. And then of course he walks past the X and he goes, I'm gonna go meet these people. And the guy's like, okay, we can do that. I'm right here. And I'm like, God, this is so bad.
That's not a good sign.
Papa Squirrel, you having a summit meeting over there?
Actually tend to see worse shit than
Am I having a what?
A summit meeting?
Yes, they are. They're criticizing the cooking show.
Your mic is picking them up very clearly.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
No,
And the one I'm using, it's this mic.
it's omnidirectional today.
It's not supposed to be.
Yeah. It was getting them pretty good.
Well,
I still. Oh, I'm sorry, Papa Squirrel. Go on.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I figure it's about time for me to get off and go eat.
Oh,
That's a good idea.
you're not obviously you're not having steak because last time you had steak, you were gone pretty quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just have visitations with the cat.
We had Jersey Mike subs tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're pretty good. That's a good
Jersey
sub,
Mike,
man.
yeah.
That's a good sub.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Oh.
We were going to go out to dinner, and then we decided, since I got to get on the road, let's keep it. We'll do it at the house. It'll be easier. Plus, I want to look at the car again. I don't know what I'm going to do now. I've been doing, even at night, like just thinking about what I have to do and how can I get this? I still got to get a good Volvo connection. Pulled that cabin air filter out, said Volvo on it, had the part number, it was a Bear part number.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, this thing is all Volvo, but I still want to run it. I still want to run it for service records. But I don't know what I'm going to do now. Like, I was going to go to the shop site. Like, what am I going to work on? I'm like, I got nothing to do. I may have to bring the FJ in and repack the clamp broke on one of the front axle. I think it's the inner boot on one of the axles. So I bought a tube of grease and a new clamp. I'm gonna bring it in and do that. I don't know. I got nothing else to do.
Well, just get on 95 and come on down.
Yeah. I could have been on their coattails, right?
So, but and I tell you, they haven't shown it. I've only seen it a couple of times. But if it's actually a true video, and not this AI, I'm trying to be very careful. But when the president came down to speak about those kids and those people shot in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
And talking about chocolate chip ice cream and all kinds of crap during this press conference. Even the news broke away and said that they'll come, that he was supposed to come down and talk about this.
Right.
And he got on a whole thing about chocolate chip ice cream. Dude,
Right.
I want to tell you, this guy is
not good. Yeah, not there.
Yeah, and I kept saying, like I said, it's funny. I mean, if it was anybody else in the world, they'd be, making it a national incident. But to tell you, man.
Yep. Amazing, isn't it?
If it was anybody else, especially a certain somebody, they'd be calling for his removal.
Oh, hell yeah.
Immediate removal.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's like I said, that's the only problem. That's the only problem is this whole how I mean the AI part of it, the artificial intelligence, and how they can manipulate anything now.
Yeah,
and that's why so you don't even know what's true or what's not true anymore.
They were talking about that on Fox this morning. They had a piece, and they were talking about AI, and they showed a couple of things. They said there was a clip of Trump in handcuffs.
Yeah,
that was all AI, and there was another one of the Pope where he looked. That was all AI, and it reminds me back to when guys learned how to use Photoshop and putting somebody's head on, and then you'd see all the hack stuff that I could do, But now I actually have a friend who does digital photo processing, and he works on the pixel level. He's been doing that for years, and when he did a Photoshop thing, you couldn't tell because he was that zoomed in on what he was doing.
Right.
And and AI is kind of the same thing. You just tell it what you want, and it does it.
Well, that was funny because I saw the thing on Trump, and I was like, "Oh, they arrested him." And then they show us there was another picture of him being tackled or wrestled to the ground, and I was like, "Wait a minute, something's not right here." And you know, again, it shows you. And there were people that were saying, you know, they can't even take that and realize it's not real.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, dude. You can't, you know, you got to understand it's not real. You know, and it's funny how that stuff is. And I said, we're in for one hell of a trip once they, you know, there's no way to verify or know for fact.
And they're talking about how you'll be able, with this technology, you'll be able to tell your computer that you need a 250 or 500 word paper on whatever topic, global warming, or on mineral deposits in South Africa. And the computer will have that database access and it'll write it for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, schoolwork is now out the window because your computer can do it for you. And they were saying a lot of the stuff is, you know, it's not going to be used for good purposes. It's
And even, like I said, even if you, the problem is, there's always going to be three sides, right? Because you're going to have for the good, and then you're going to have the evil, and then you're going to have the guy in between.
They would use it for the right purpose, sure.
Right. And, you know, that's the whole problem with all of that. And, you know, well, you know, like I said, I'm just, I try not to think even more about it, you know, like my kids or you know, our kids, you know what I'm saying? Because dude, they're glued. I mean, everybody that I know is glued to this thing. I go into a shop. I couldn't even have employees. If I looked at their phone and realized that they spend average of 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day on a phone.
Yeah.
Dude, that's disgusting.
Exactly.
I get upset when mine hits the 2.5 hour mark.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, dude, there's better things I could be doing than 2 hours on the phone.
Right.
You know.
Well, even with the aspect of what you were saying of like with the AI, you know, it's going to get to the point people don't know what's real or what's true anymore. We're already there. I mean, we've spent the last couple of years of things being told, and a good portion of the population just going with what's being told. And now we're hearing that some of the conspiracy theories or whatever are starting to be right.
Right.
You know, and any of us that question stuff, and
we're the bad guy.
Yeah, we're the bad guy. And some of the questioning wasn't even conspiracy theory type questioning per se, or in the realm of, it was, hold on, let's pump the brakes and start going slow and looking at surveying the field. Let's not run out in the middle of the battlefield just yet. Let's look around and see what's out there. And if you were that person, you were deemed a conspiracy nut or this, that, and the other. And, you know, I remember, and I'm sure you guys remember, learning in high school about Socrates and his famous, I mean, he had more than one famous quote, but his famous quote of question everything. And the idea of question everything is don't take the bait on anything. Take your time, research it, look at it, question it, and make your own decision. Don't let the decision be made for you. Kids nowadays have never heard of Socrates or even the ones that have heard of Socrates are like, I heard he was this guy in somewhere over there, like Italy, Europe, somewhere, or maybe it wasn't Europe. And it, you know, and that makes me think of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I was just going to say, the kids that were teenagers in the 80s know Socrates.
So great.
Right.
Yep.
Well, the only problem with all of that, and unfortunately, because we have this big whole thing now here with our school, of upsetting so many different people.
Yeah.
Our teachers now have to issue their learning plan for the year ahead of time so that it could be critiqued to see if it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, hell, they don't even teach anything in school anymore.
Right. Right.
Exactly. Well, here's something. So living out here in the desert, as we head into May and especially June, they talk about we're in fire danger. It's dry. We're in a drought, so we're in a fire danger. Today, I heard on the news, we got a ton of rain. It's been a great rainy season, so we're in fire danger. And I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
And I'm like, I remember when we've been in fire danger because of the lack of rain, you've said if we've had more rain, the pine, up on the mountain here, the pines and everything would be more alive and it wouldn't be so dry. And now you're saying, now the only thing that made sense is they said, well, there's more wildland grass growing, and as it dries out, it makes more of a fire danger. And I was like, that makes a little sense, or makes it makes some sense as to what you're saying. Right. But you're still on two opposite sides. I remember last year, you idiots, but there's so many other people there like, oh yeah, fire danger, and don't question it. That's the most frustrating thing.
Well, that all goes to where the media, they'll turn it, or they'll, like I said, they'll make it because they need that shock value, or they need to have that sense of danger still. They can't say, oh, well, we've had rain, so everything's good, because then it would be, there'd be no news.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, like that Gwyneth Paltrow thing going on right now, the skiing accident.
She won that case, by the way. I saw it on the news. Yeah.
And I think, the little bit that we saw and kind of paid attention, we were kind of going for her. But the thing is like my wife and I were talking about it, that every day there'd be an update on what outfit she wore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Who cares?
Right.
And I'm like, watch, the next thing is they're going to say this spring lineup is the Gwyneth Paltrow edition. And then there's the cheaper version you can get at Target. And if you want the really cheaper version, Walmart's selling it. I'm like, who cares? Like,
right. And Coach, I know you want one.
Yeah. I need a dress for the baseball season. But and the funny thing is, and my wife turned around, she goes, who even cares that they don't need to be publicizing this stupid trial anyways? And I was like, well, it is interesting. I guess you want to be there.
Yeah, because she's a celebrity. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, she is right. She goes, if it was anybody else, in the same incident, she goes, for one, the guy's probably suing her because she's who she is and, got dollar signs in his eyes. She goes, but if that was you or me and we were being taken to court on that, nobody would show it. Nobody, or if it was a small time celebrity, nobody would show it.
I mean, skiing, you could be snowboarding or skating. I watch the fail videos. People crash into each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. So,
well, look at the 70s, 80s, when we used to jump our bikes off of a couple pieces of wood and go head first over the bars. And, we're looking at this like you had an accident and now you're brain damaged.
Yeah. We had I came across on one of my Instagram reels, and I was like, man, that brings back. We had when we lived in Oklahoma City, we had we lived on a dead end street, and it was really long. I mean, I don't know how many houses there were, but it was very long, and it came up to the high school football field. It was a dead end, And I guess somewhere along the line, somebody went over the curb and drove their car around on the football field, So they put one of those big ass bar, a tube fence. It was had like 1, 2, 3 hoops, but it was a bar all the way across, and it was 4-inch piping. I mean, it was pretty heavy duty, and and it was about 3 feet off the ground. And I remember, man, we searched everybody's garage for a piece of plywood to put up on that for this ramp. And of course, when you're at the very top of the hill, looking down, it only looked about like this big,
Yeah.
and you're pedaling forever, because it was just so long. And of course, we found something that was only like, 10 inches wide or whatever. So you're already like holding on to the bike for dear life, how half of us missed the board and hit the pipe. So you'd hit with your handlebars into it and flip over the bar, And the one time that I made it to the ramp and my front wheel fell off in the air. So the spikes go right down into the ground. And of course, you can't pull it up. I got to walk back. I look like I'd been dragged by a truck,
Too bad there were no video cameras.
I know. My dad was like, what the hell happened? I said, the bike's stuck. He goes, what do you mean the bike is stuck? And I tell him. So, of course, now the old man's got to go down in here and pull the bike out of the ground. So, but man, jumping over kids and everything else was surprised we all survived.
Well, I remember like stuff like that. Like if we found a piece of pipe or even like a good piece of curb, we would hop our boards, ollie our boards, our skateboards, and rail grind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I learned real quick why you don't rail grind on brick, because when you go onto the brick and in the grout in the grooves, it stops. And you go face first.
Yeah.
So there was, I had my time of doing stuff like that, or going down hills on my bike. Now out here, we had a spot, we'd go down the hill, but on the other end where it would come up, there was a rock sticking out of the ground. And it was just, if you hit it just right, it would boost you up in the air. And
woo!
And we had a blast, but I also caught the end of the handlebars, like the bars turned as I came down, and caught those in my solar plexus.
Yeah.
I've gone over the handlebars. I've Supermaned out and landed on my face.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Crazy.
All horrible experiences, but we survived.
Now you're gonna give me something to think about as I'm trying to go to sleep tonight. That's crazy. All right,
Ray.
Let's get to work. Do our stuff.
I'm missing some money, so I gotta go find some money.
Yeah, man. Tune in for Luke Tucker on Sunday, and you guys have a good weekend.
Yeah,
talk to you guys before the week is out. And for Lewis Lee, playing in traffic. I don't know if we had a topic for tonight, but we probably didn't talk about it. Ray Guarino.
Well, it's supposed to be what we drove.
Well, okay. Mac Man Brian, Coach Isaac. Isaac, what do we say to the people who are waiting for me to take the garbage out tonight?
You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram. But whatever you do, don't follow Ray home. Don't follow any of us home.
Especially when he's got that pizza. Right.
But when you have a chance, like right now, click, subscribe, and share.
There you go.
You got it.
Add it all in.
All right, guys. We'll be in touch. Stay out of trouble.
Yeah.